We're ready.
Right?
I still see.
No, as long as they're recording, because they're recording this video, as long as we have sound. You don't have to move.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna have to be real quiet because there's only one mic, so when someone's speaking, try and keep your side chat to a zero. Okay, so McAllen. A board workshop of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District will be held Monday, January 15th, 2024, beginning at 1 p.m. at the Lone Star Room of the Professional Learning Center, located at 1601 North 27th Street in McAllen. At this meeting, there may be discussion by the board on the items and subjects listed as follows. Item 1, call the meeting to order. The meeting was called to order at 1:09 p.m. Item 2, public comments. Nobody has signed up for public comments. Item 3, team building. Dr. Gutierrez.
Yes. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. So this is a new board member orientation, and what we want to do is you see all the representatives from the departments. We want to have kind of like a dialogue with the board about our departments, our programs, and so we're going to be presenting and giving you updates as to where we are in certain areas from throughout the district, so that you can get a better understanding of what's happening in our district and the departments and who we are serving, the students, the campuses, and the things that we're doing. So this gives you a good opportunity to familiarize yourself, as well as myself as a new superintendent, to understand a little better some of the departments and the services that we provide. So you have a binder with you, and we're going to go over all of those presentations in that binder. And of course, we love for you to ask questions. We love for you to interact with the presenters. They're going to be here in center stage where I am, presenting to all of you. And what we want is just for you all to have a better understanding of the programs and the departments that we have here in McAllen ISD. Okay? So we'll do that. We are excited that we're going to talk a lot about curriculum. We're going to talk a lot about our special populations. We're going to talk about our business and finance. We're going to talk about special programs and services that we provide. So that way, when we have board meetings and we cover some topics or some items, you have a better idea and a better understanding of some of those board agenda items that we're putting in as we move forward to the board meetings that we're going to have. A lot of things are happening this second semester. We started the second semester, but we had a cabinet meeting this morning with all the departments, and one of the things that I told them is that we need to be thinking from now until the first day of class in August. And there's a lot of things that happen in between. So for us to be prepared as a district and as a staff, is that we have to be thinking about the spring semester, summer, and be ready for the first day of class, okay? Because just as we are starting the spring semester, we need to start thinking about budget. We have to adopt our budget by June, but we also have a lot of testing going on from the state assessments. But we also have graduations, and we have summer school, and we have staff development, and we have a leadership training, and then we have the first day of class coming up sometime in August, because we're adopting also a calendar. So we're thinking already August of 2024 when we start classes. And so that's how we're thinking as a district, that's how we're thinking as all of us that are here serving the campuses and the departments, is thinking all the way to August and be ready for the first day of class, but prepare for everything that's coming up. And that's what we're going to talk about throughout this presentation, is all those things that need to go, falling in place as we move forward from January to February and so on. Okay? Especially one of the things that we're going to have to deal with is changes that are coming up with the state, assessments, and we're going to talk about assessments. Budget. The budget hasn't been finalized by the legislatures. They still have that pending. There may be a special call session in February, and so that may impact our budget the next couple of months for the betterment, I hope, because we may get more money, and then we need to consider that too. We have facility projects that are going on and some of them are almost complete, perhaps this semester, and we're also going to have to make some decisions on facility-wise as to how we're going to utilize our facilities for next year. So I may have to make some, what do you call it? Reorganize, restructure some of the facilities so that we can better serve our staff and better serve our kids. Okay? So all of those things will be up for discussion, and we want to have it where it's a two-way discussion, and so that we can have a better understanding. They all prepared very well, and they set up a very nice PowerPoints and very informative. And so they're anxious to showcase what they're doing, and also what we're planning for the rest of the year and for next year. Okay? So that's what it's about. And I hope that when you walk out of this meeting, that you will walk out understanding a lot better about some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that are upcoming for the next couple of months. Okay? And thank you for being here. Thank you for weathering the blizzard outside and getting here safely. But we're ready to go. Ready?
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Peña, and then we'll go from department by department. Go ahead, Ms. Peña.
All right, thank you, Dr. Nicholas. I'm going to just grab the clicker. All right, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Timer. You already started my time. I just pressed present. My name is Cari Peña, and I am the Director for Professional Learning and Literacy. So today I was tasked with giving you guys the big 5 W's, right, of our department. Who are we? What do we do? How do we do it? And why do we do it? So I'll start off with this big chart here. So who we are is we're a team of highly specialized curriculum leaders. I get to lead this great team over here and just really get to work with them, bring them together to collaborate, to calibrate, and to make sure that everything we do is with the best intentions, that we have optimized programs, that we have optimized procedures, because everything we do impacts the campus directly. We work directly with students, we work directly with teachers, so we want to make sure that we're always calibrated so we're doing the best that we can for those that we serve. In our team are the content coordinators. That's the group back here that you see. This is the lifeblood of our team. They serve teachers, they serve principals, they serve our campuses. They plan all that there is regarding instruction, curriculum writing, assessment calendars, professional learning sessions. That's what they do. The next group over here is our coaches and strategists. These are our boots on the ground people, right? They're elbow to elbow with teachers and students. They're running camps, they're modeling, they're coaching teachers. They're on the campuses every day, all the time, coaching, training, just really supporting our teachers and our students at the campuses. We have our campus counterparts. We have our campus C&I team that we partner with. These are our literacy coaches, our math interventionists, our school improvement facilitators. At the middle schools, we have instructional coaches. We have SLFs, student learning facilitators, and we have our K-2 coaches that we were able to bring in through ESSER. We bring those people to us, and then we go to them, right? We're always calibrating, making sure that everything we do is for the betterment of our students and our teachers. So we have the coordinators here, but we don't have our strategists and coaches here. This is the entire team. Together, we serve 30 campuses from pre-K to 12th grade. We are very dedicated to our teachers, and we're very dedicated to the learners in our classrooms. We like to call ourselves teachers of teachers, right? I know when Ms. V was here, she would say, these are teachers of teachers, and that's a name we really love because we have a passion for learning, we have a passion for learners, and we definitely have a passion for bringing those together and helping out in every way we can.
I want to interject. If nobody starts, I want to start. But this is very critical what they do over there as far as working with teachers, because it's about the delivery of the instruction in the classroom. And sometimes teachers need that professional development, that training, model lessons, how to model some lessons and how to present the lessons, and this is where they come in. And so the impact that they make is directly in the classroom with the teacher and the students. And so it's a big impact because it's about following the instructional process and being able to demonstrate to the teachers how to perhaps do some lessons. Could be mathematics, could be reading, could be writing, science, social studies, whatever, but just to make the teachers better in the classroom. So what they do there is like, they're the coaches, and they're modeling the lessons for the teachers to be able to deliver better instruction.
Thank you, sir. So we know that the teacher is the variable, right? We know that in every classroom, the teacher is the one who makes the difference. So like Dr. Gutierrez said, we are there for the teachers. We're also there for the students. That's Tiffany Schwartz. I don't know if you guys talk to teachers, especially in elementary, and you mentioned Tiffany Schwartz. They will tell you the great things that she's been doing on campus with teachers, with students. She's our 3rd through 8th writing specialist. And here she is with a group of kids this year at Roosevelt Elementary, already doing student camps early on in the year. We support all students, our emergent bilinguals, special ed students, students with dyslexia, students in our RSD program. All students are supported by our coordinators. We also support teachers. Every year we think of new and innovative ways to grow our teachers, to bring them the best resources, the best research-based professional learning. This year we brought in the writing revolution, and we focus on really making these sessions engaging and meaningful to our teachers, because we know, like we said, the teacher is the variable. In addition to, bringing in the professional learning or supporting all our students, we really look closely at the kind of instructional resources that we bring to teachers and students. All of our coordinators here, they head all of the adoptions for the textbooks. They bring together committees. Any new resources that are purchased through federal programs, through bilingual, through any of the special programs are vetted by them and by me. We make sure that the resources that we bring are challenging, that they're TEKS aligned, that they're appropriate for our community. We support our teachers when they have questions about what resources they could best use for a certain task. So we make sure that all of the resources that our students are high quality, they're engaging, they're challenging. And then when we have areas of focus, for example, this year we knew that math was a big area of focus, right? Not that our students aren't performing where they should be. Our students are performing at or above state at every single level of math. But we knew that engagement in the math classroom is super important, right? Especially girls, getting all kids involved in math. So here we have a new initiative this year, VR headsets in the mathematics classrooms and secondary classrooms. We also know that science, right? It's important that kids connect with science, that hands-on learning exists. So here we have our kids in our STAR lab learning some hands-on science activities. Make sure I don't forget any of the things I'm supposed to say because they text me if I forget.
So when we bring items to the board for curriculum, for example, so like software or curriculum materials, the group back there, along with the teachers and the campus administration, have reviewed it, they vetted, and then by the time we put it to the board book so that you can look into it and hopefully support it, is already being gone through a process of vetting it, that it's something good for our kids, something good for our teachers, and with teacher input, campus input, their input, so that way it makes it, by the time it gets to the board book, it's already gone through several steps of vetting it to making sure that that's what we really want for our district and for our kids and our staff.
So the STAR Lab, how many do you have, or do you just have one and they share it?
We have one STAR Lab, and we share it amongst the elementary and middle school campuses, teachers. We have a calendar where they can request it, and then we'll have it sent to the campus, and then either myself or Stephanie run it throughout the day or after school, but we have teachers that already have learned how to run it.
How much does the STAR Lab cost? Like, I would like for there to be one for the elementary, one for the middle school, so they don't have to share it. I've been in a STAR Lab, and I think they're amazing and very engaging. They're also great for naps. But that aside,
those are important too.
if we had one at each, at the elementary and then one at middle school, then we wouldn't have to share it so much. But I don't know what they cost. I'm pretty sure they're expensive.
Right now,
definitely
we
look
have
into
one at the, where, the elementary only?
We have one, but we share.
District.
For the district.
They check it out to the campuses.
Okay. Is it
It's
like
a beautiful tool.
Is it computer on wheels?
Yes,
or that-
it's, we purchased the dome, So the dome is one pricing about 10 grand for the dome that has all the parts to inflate it. And then we purchased the software. And the software is digital. It's no longer those big canisters. It's on a laptop. We purchased the software one time, and it belongs to us. And so you just need the computer, you hook it up to the projector, and then you have the start out.
Yeah, they're super fun. I like it.
Yeah, it's the software that costs more than the dome.
Yes.
Just a general question. So I don't come from an education background. So when you
Yes.
say like calibrate or I can imagine what that means. But how often do our teachers get to interact with you all, and how much does that take, like not take away, but I guess when do they get to do that, and how often does that happen?
Well, that's on my next slide, so I'll give you just a kind of an idea, but they interact with teachers daily,
Okay.
right? They interact with teachers daily, whether it's by text, by Teams message, by teachers. Right now, we have a room full of kindergarten teachers over there, and we have 6th grade teachers over there, both for reading language arts. So when they're not here with us, we're there with them, or we're constantly, I'm on all of their chats, so there's constant communication with teachers.
So is this like a curriculum necessarily that the teachers get as well, like semi-instruction for them coaching wise? Or is it they come to you when they have specific questions about?
It's both.
Okay.
So it's a la carte, right? So if they have specific needs, then we go to them to help them with those specific needs. And then we have what we call Tier 1 professional development. So Tier 1 means everybody gets it. And that's standardized professional learning, and that's in the next slide. So this is an example of our professional learning sessions. And these are standardized, they're not standardized, I'm sorry. They're standard for all Tier 1, right? And where we provide these are at beginning of the year, one for sure in fall, where we pull out teachers, and one for sure in spring when we pull out teachers. And we provide them with a substitute in fall and spring. Right now we have kindergarten teachers. They got science instruction from Stephanie in the morning, and right now they're in reading language arts in the afternoon. So they get that once per semester. And that's been a real game changer for us, because we used to have those after school from 4 to 6, and that was very difficult for our teachers. They'd have to bring kids with them. It was fast, it was rushed. It wasn't the best, it wasn't the optimal. But now, I mean, these sessions happen, and I'm getting texts from teachers. Thank you so much. These are great. Can I have more resources? I love these, because they're all make and take, right? So everything that they make, they take right back to their classroom, and literally the next day on Twitter, we're seeing the implementation of the activities in their classroom. So they're very valuable to teachers. But not only are they valuable, they're research-based. Right here you see teachers being trained on Scarborough's reading rope. So that's really teaching teachers the fundamentals of reading instruction. Like today, Sandra, what is the lesson today for
Today,
kindergarten?
our focus is vocabulary acquisition, and they're learning all the research behind that, how we map words in our head, and then we give them the research first, and then we give them practical centers that they can implement in their classroom.
So that's happening
That's
today
what's
in their classrooms. You see they're very hands-on. Here you see our science coordinators presenting at a state conference. Some of the same strategies that are presented to our teachers, they're presenting to a state conference. And just the kinds of comments that they have from teachers from around the state, right? Like how valuable their session was, how valuable their resources are. They take a lot of time to really tailor these resources to our teachers. They know what the teachers need because they're in the teachers' classrooms. So these sessions are not just like we're hiring a presenter from, far away who doesn't know our teachers. They're homemade. When we need to bring in a presenter, we do, right? But most of these are homemade, tailored to our teachers, research-based professional learning opportunities.
And when we have a chance, when we take a little break, we'll go see all the kinder teachers are right next door to us.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting staff development, and then the 6th grade teachers are on the other room.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we can just pop in and see them in action with their staff development and training. They're all here, right next door to us.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead. I got
I doubt it. You're going to be more intent. A concern that's been expressed is that because of the budget situation, that maybe classes haven't been held in pace that we normally would have had a year or two ago. Has that been addressed and resolved? Are you on a pace that when you need to bring these Tier 1 teachers, that they are getting the instruction on time with no delay?
Yes, sir. We haven't had a change in the pace of our professional learning. It's been the same, pretty consistent pace. I think We've adopted this pace of once per semester per content. I guess 2 or 3 years ago we adopted that, and it's been consistent. And I think that, like I said, we bring them to us once per semester and at the beginning of the year, as well as during summer. But when they're not with us, we're with them. So they're constantly getting professional learning.
Not assuming anything, but what I'm gathering is that if they're not here today, you're gonna go out there in the field and, like if they're absent or they were, you know, whatever, then you're gonna catch up with them in the classroom in real time to cover whatever they missed here.
Exactly. And
Excellent.
so, yeah, and a lot of the times anything happens, they call us and we're happy to go back and present follow-up. There's campuses who need beyond tier 1. They need tier 2, that means they need a little bit more help, or perhaps tier 3, a lot more help. So like I said, these sessions are tier 1, everybody gets them. And then from there, we supplement as needed.
There was a time in which you all weren't welcome in classroom, in the schools. And we're not gonna live that again. But it's my understanding that is no longer the case. You are welcomed by the principals, you're definitely welcomed by the faculty on the campuses.
That was many moons ago.
That was a long time ago, which we're not gonna get.
Before
I just
my
wanted to
time,
confirm that
thankfully.
we're on track 100% across the district.
No, these guys are highly coveted. I mean, on professional learning days, they have too many jobs to fill, right? They get calls, and they're just not enough of them to fill the amount of work that the campuses are asking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think this is wonderful, and we all want professional learning going on. But as a consumer, as a parent in the school district, what I see is that in elementary schools, you don't have content teachers, you don't have a science teacher, you don't have a math teacher. So they're not getting pulled out one time for science, they're getting pulled out one day for science, one day for English, one day for math, one day for history. So if you're pulling them out one semester, they're missing 8 days of school.
So we do half days.
Or half days. But what I see is, well, from the board standpoint, subs cost a lot of money. And from a consumer, I don't like to see a sub in the classroom with my student when it's not that the teacher was ill, it's that the district is mandating things and pulling them out. So I'd like to see days where we can do this, where there's half days and there's no students in there or something like that. But it's not just, when it comes to elementary, it's not just one day, because I know some campuses have it, like I just, because I was a parent at Bettis, I know in 4th grade they have an English person, they have, so you're not taking the whole grade level out. But at most campuses, you're taking the entire grade level out for a day, and I understand the importance of it, but I hope that when we start talking about calendar issues, we start to look at that a little bit better.
Well, that's perfect, because, and we're gonna cover that in a little bit, Dr. Deonis, but the ADSY, the additional day school year calendar, is going to allow us to have more half-day planning time. And so those half days of planning time will take care of those trainings without pulling the teacher during instructional time. Because we all agree here that we don't want to interrupt instructional time. We want to maximize the most of it. But at the same time, teachers need training. They need to be developed in the content areas. So the way we're going to balance it out is better is with this ADSY type of a calendar, which we're going to talk about it in a little bit, is going to allow us the flexibility to have more half-day trainings in the calendar to do that without interrupting instruction.
Can I add one more if I may?
Sure.
I'm not going to preface, I'm just going to say it. Why aren't we leveraging our technology in which the teacher could be in the campus on a screen? There may be some quizzes that are required to make sure they're staying on task and they're not walking away and just, and therefore you don't have the travel, you have less time, maybe in 30 minutes versus an hour and a half travel, all that. Why aren't we leveraging more of the technology for instruction?
So we do have a blend, right? But these half-day sessions, these once a semester half-day, and like today was reading and science, so morning science and social studies for staff. She does science, social studies in the morning, reading language arts in the afternoon, and then one more half day for math. So it's 1.5 days. That's really what it is. It's very condensed and quick. We do try to, do as much as we can in a condensed fashion, so we're not pulling teachers, but to get to the point,
hands-on is necessary.
To get to the point, yes.
Yeah.
Not only that it's necessary for hands-on, but this allows them to come together and really calibrate with each other. And by calibrate, I mean like how are you doing this? How are you teaching this math concept? Because I haven't been able to get across. And so they talk to each other, they collaborate. It's not that easy to do that online. We do leverage that as much as possible, but the kind of comments that we get from teachers, they really appreciate this time to really be able to soak in the instruction and take that back. And like I said, I know that in the elementary they teach all subjects, but we try to keep it to 1.5 days. So it's reading, science, social studies, and half day of math.
So the byproduct is you're breaking silos.
Right,
Because otherwise
exactly.
everybody does it whatever they're on their campus, and then you're at different levels.
So when I first started, and I know that
Makes sense.
I'm probably going way over
Sorry.
time. When I first started here, I'll just give you an example. I was a literacy coach, and I first started here. We had 7th grade writing exam, and I noticed that only one campus was scoring 8s on their essay. 8 was the highest score you could get at that time, and that campus was Fossum, right? They had like 40% of their students scoring 8s, and everybody was in the 18%. And so I started going to see what they were doing, bringing those teachers together, creating that spirit of collaboration where it's not a competition. It's not a competition between campuses. We're all here together for the same kids. And I think that over the years, that's what happens, right? We've created this spirit of collaboration. We're not in competition with each other. We come, we talk, we share, and the teachers really enjoy that. I'm sorry, another question?
I was just going to vouch basically everything that you said from a teacher's perspective of you just can't get this type of half-day training. I mean, I know we have a lot to keep in mind with for our calendar and it's really complex, but for a teacher to get to go somewhere and have that learning community and like every single picture is hands-on, it's not on the screen and all that stuff is just, you can't even put a price on it, especially to get to collaborate with your colleagues and that stuff. So I know we need to look at our calendar, but this is really good training, it looks like, and I bet the teachers are really enjoying what they're getting.
They do. We get very good feedback, so I think it's one of the best things that we do, actually.
When you spoke about tier 2 and tier 3, who's monitoring that? And is it mandated from the top down, or does the campus principal say, I need additional training? Or is it even like you're saying you need to go in, the campus principal has the autonomy to say yes or no?
So I'll show you that. I have a slide on what all of that means. So in addition to the professional learning, these people are working tirelessly to create resources. We know time is a big issue for teachers. Planning time, that is one of the things that teachers struggle with the most. So summer curriculum writing, they're bringing in expert teachers, creating resources, vetting the resources, making sure that everything is TEKS aligned, that everything is appropriate for our students, putting them on their curriculum websites so that it's easily available for teachers. They have a website. Each website is linked. Teachers have access to all the information there. So all they have to go is click on the button, review their resources, and print them out. You see here many hands-on resources. Even though we knew the test, STAR 2.0, was going online, we know that it's important for kids to be able to do hands-on activities. We know that that's what makes those concepts stick. So that's what these coordinators do day in, day out, create resources for teachers to make sure that our kids are getting these great learning experiences. The same thing that we do for our K-12 teachers, we do for pre-K also. Ms. Erica Canales is at those campuses. She's at the Learning Center. She's providing support. Erica, you want to wave? She's providing support at the daycare centers, making sure that our students have that smooth transition to formal schooling, setting the foundation for these kiddos. We also provide resources for them. We vet those resources in the same way, so those kids are getting supported. The teachers are getting supported in the same way, half-day session, once in the fall, once in the spring. Another layer of support that we provide K-3 is we provide our own in-house reading academies. That was something that we brought to the board at the beginning of the year. We know that sending teachers to Region 1 would be a $3,000 price tag per teacher, so doing it in-house not only saves us money, it also provides us the opportunity to give our teachers flexible professional learning because we work around their schedule. If there's a professional learning day in the calendar, we use that day rather than to pull them one day from the classroom. Whereas if we would have gone to Region 1, it's a more strict schedule that doesn't have our needs in mind. So we have Ms. Gabby Zuniga. She is actually certified to provide biliteracy and English route reading academies. She had to go through some strict requirements or pass some strict assessments with TEA. She's certified to do both, and we're very excited. She has about 50 teachers in the first cohort. She's supporting 30 teachers who are still finishing with Region 1, and she already has a waiting list for a January cohort coming up. We also support the assessment part of the Texas incentive allotment. We help choosing the assessment, implementing the assessment. MAP is one that we're supporting. It is one that we're using to monitor the progress of our students and set student goals. And we know that's important that we do a good job with that because our teachers have an opportunity to potentially be designated and really increase their income opportunities. In addition to supporting the teachers, in addition to working with big district items and teacher incentive allotments, we also support campus administrative leadership teams. We bring our literacy coaches, we bring our math interventionists, and we present to the deans, to the student learning facilitators, student instructional facilitators. We present on anything from effective planning to writing across the content areas. So we present across the district to teachers and administrative teams as well. So there's a long list of other things we do. We work for the calendar. We work at BOY beginning of the year sessions. Any district-wide professional learning, we're there. Differentiating for Success Conference, we're there. Anything that we do district-wide to improve teaching and learning, it's going to involve these people directly. There's one's missing. I'm talking fast. Any other questions? Yes?
I have a few. Are you done? Or-
No.
Okay.
Do I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we do it? That tiered system, right? So we do have a tiered system of support. And when we go out to provide support at these campuses, we're all also trained on research-based coaching strategies so that when we're out there, we're using the best strategies to reach teachers and improve student learning. So as tier 1, like I said, everybody gets fall and spring content supports. Everybody gets campus support by request. Everybody gets literacy coach meetings, curriculum documents, summer curriculum writing, and high-quality instructional materials. But we also have tier 2 support. New teachers get extra support. So new teachers to the district, they all know who their new teachers are. They meet with them regularly, right? We want to make sure we retain our teachers. We also go bi-weekly to support the campuses. We visit classrooms, we offer feedback, we provide additional resources. And for tier 3, we do that with a little bit more, right? And you asked, how do we tier? Like, how do we know who needs more support? It's all data-driven, right? So we use big data. Star comes in, we kind of look, see who's struggling, and we pinpoint, right? Okay, seems like this campus is struggling in science, this campus is struggling in math, right? So we create our priority campus support plan, that's what we call it. And then throughout the year, we have other assessments, right? We use Amplify in early literacy to monitor in K-1-2 to see how our kids are doing in the early grades in reading. We use iReady in K-5 math, and 3-5 reading. No, not 3-5 reading, 3-6 reading. To see how our kids are doing, progressing in reading, and then we use MAP in math and science to see how our kids are progressing. So we tweak, right? We see like some campuses are improving, maybe they're not such a priority. We're looking at a priority over here because maybe some teachers left on maternity leave, right? And now we have some gaps at some campuses, so we zoom in there. We support resources for substitutes when there's long-term subs. We talk to the subs, we train the subs. So we do a lot of work like that, and our tiers constantly change depending on need. And our big why is this, right? Our big why is kids. That's our big why, right? We love working with kids, we love working with teachers. Our coordinators not only plan professional learning, create resources, do all the other district things, but they also do spelling bee, right? That's coming up in 2 weeks. They do history bee, they do science fairs. They do all of these because their passion is kids. And we know that when kids are happy, when kids are learning, that we're doing our job, right? And if I could encapsulate everything we do in one picture, I think it would be that picture, right? I think it would be that picture. I also wanted to say, one thing I didn't talk a lot about today was writing. So writing was a big thing, right? on our test last year, teachers were a little freaking out, like, oh my goodness, third graders are gonna write. How are we gonna do it? Here's Tiffany, she's running here, she's running there, she's supporting teachers. And I just wanna say, like, our kids were supported 100% of the time. Our teachers were supported 100% of the time. And our kids, they met the challenge, right? This is a third grader, scored a 9, the highest is a 10, from Big Pensacola. Third graders were required to write an argumentative essay. Argumentative essay, the only grade level that was asked to write an argument was third grade. Not 10th grade, not 8th grade, third grade. And so she wrote her argument about whether people should be rewarded for recycling. Third grader at Big Pensacola. And look at how she even cites her evidence. On paragraph 3 on laws for less trash, it says, the recycling company might be unable to sort out the trash, then all the items would have to go to landfill. People would get rewards for recycling even though their items were not truly recycled. This evidence proves that people shouldn't be rewarded because they would fill their recycling bins with trash. Desperate only for the money, and too much trash and recyclable materials will cause stuff to be thrown to landfills. Our world could be safer without rewards or other things like rewards, and the things we need to save our planet is laws and reminders about how to recycle the right way. So,
Wow.
so I think that, I can't say enough about the work that they do. I'm super proud to work with them, and like I said, this is the end product.
We've heard nothing but positive with this team, by the way. So to be here to get to see them from the face in the
In the flesh.
presentation. Thank you very much.
I don't know, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, because I don't know who the.
Yes.
I know who she is.
So we'll go with Erica, you can start.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Erica Canales, and I'm the Early Childhood Coordinator.
Celeste Garza, Secondary Science. I support middle school and high school science teachers.
Hello, Clarissa Abbott. I do social studies 6th through 12th grade.
Stephanie Beltran, Elementary Science and Social Studies Coordinator.
Richard Palomine, Elementary Math, K to 5.
Good afternoon, Linda Farias, Secondary Math, 6 through 12.
Hi, good afternoon, Santa Garcia, Elementary Reading Language Arts.
And hi everybody, Richard Roberts. I'm Secondary Reading Language Arts 6 and 12.
That's the team. Questions?
Good job.
Ms. Kilman, you had some
I
questions?
just have a few. So mostly elementary is what I'm concerned with, especially youth literacy, through kind of shifting from the balanced literacy to science teaching and reading. What's our plan? Have we moved from F&P, running records? Like, have we moved from leveled libraries, or are we still kind of, is that like a slower process that?
You want to answer what
So
we're doing?
as we speak today, we are collecting F&P materials at our last campuses. So all of that material has been picked up, and we have been training our teachers, I would say for about the last year, on science of reading instruction and just the shift, helping them along the way. It was a little bit difficult to get them away from something that they were so used to, but I think that we've made a lot of progress, and really for us the key has been just providing the research behind why the shift, and then providing resources to help them along the way. So it's something that we continue to do even today in our workshop. I don't know at what point y'all are welcome to walk in there. I don't know where we'll be in the presentation, but even today, we are talking about it one more time, right? What we do in small group, how we address kids who are struggling readers, and so it's continuous work for us right now until we get to a level where we feel we can kind of push away from the research behind it and just focus on it.
And a lot is happening across general classrooms, because I know we're getting a lot of like CALT certified employees, which is amazing for our dyslexia department, but also in our just general tiered classrooms. Like, what are we doing for literacy to kind of improve? I know we'll see, I know we'll see data as a result in STAR.
And I feel strongly about the great things that we're doing. This team, great team. We have Claudia Peña in there, early literacy specialist, and that's all they do, science and teaching reading. Gabby Zuniga with HP3 Reading Academy, science and teaching reading, so we're very layered with that.
And have we moved from a discussion of RTI to MTSS?
That would be more Mr. Southwest.
Let me answer right now, or?
Sure.
It was gonna be-
Or whatever, yeah.
Say it again?
Moving from an RTI discussion to MTSS, multi-tiered system.
Yeah, so right now what we're doing is, that's the alignment we have going on right now. I think one of the major things is we want to look at the entire campus and find out what exactly they're doing. If, for example, we talked about this morning, for those kids that are in a campus and for some reason or other the campus doesn't have enough RTI students, we're looking at that in detail, because if their numbers are low, we should be having more kids aligned to RTI. The movement of the MTSS is what we're gonna go into next, where we're now getting those kids to say, with those multi supports, here's what we're gonna do to get them from there, either from RTI to maybe Follow 4, or evaluation to special education, or determine what's next for those students.
Okay, great. Okay, wait, sorry. And I just want to know, at a curricular level for elementary in our classrooms, like, what curriculum are we using? Literacy, math, science, and writing. Is that okay if I ask that? Okay.
So for reading language arts, our state adoption is HMH.
Okay.
That is what we use as the main
Core, tier 1.
core tier 1.
Okay.
But we also provide supplement through Scholastic Storyworks. We use
Amplified reading.
Amplified reading to guide our small group instruction for struggling readers. We use Hegarty phonics. We use
I read in 3rd through 5th. I read in 3rd
third through fifth, yes, for struggling readers in those grade levels as well. I'm trying to think of the decodable, I don't know why I can't.
Rigby readers.
Yes,
Yeah.
we use decodable readers. We use Rigby readers that are attached in our adoption.
And Matt?
Math would be, right now, it's Sharon Wells. The adopted is a vegetable math. And then we also have April math. And then there's all the supplementary things that are better, like Takes It to a Star, Solange, and I read it.
And Pearlized math.
Pearlized math.
K to 1.
What is it?
Pearlized math.
Paralyzed.
Paralyzed?
Like
No. Like pearls. Not paralyzed math.
Sorry, I'm almost done.
And then for science, we have Savas as our main adoption, and for social studies as well.
Sure.
We are currently going through a new adoption with our new revised takes starting to implement in next school year.
Okay.
And then in our SciTech lab, we use EduSmart as our curriculum component, and then we have hands-on kits from LJ Create.
Okay. Let me see this. Okay, sorry, one more question. So, for our dyslexic students with dyslexia who are taking the STAR or any type of learning difference, do they have to take it on the virtually still, or can they opt to do it on paper?
There is a paper test option that either can be requested or is mandated by their student ARD. So I think they probably will go into.
They can go to the annual review and dismissal committee, and as a committee, they decide if it's best for the child online or paper.
Okay.
And the same thing for 504, if they have dyslexia only, it goes to the 504 committee, and then they decide. Or it could be parent request.
And I think our job, I think our job is also to make sure that we know there's a window. So we have to make sure that we try to align that at the time that's required.
Yeah, because I'm anticipating some parents who have students, like the one we talked about, who are not going to want a virtual testing environment for their kids. So just making sure that we're communicating that.
And the deadline to submit those requests is prior to February 1st. So
Okay, so you
we're
told
getting
her.
very close to that. Oh, yes, we're working on that. Yeah.
And I think it's gonna mean that as the kids are already, that they're gonna be, they know, if they're gonna be testing online by now, they're doing all their work online. And those that are, they know that it's already paper and pencil, is paper and pencil. So by the time they test, they've been already in that system.
Thank you, guys.
Can I just make one quick request?
Sure.
Not about acronyms. We all know the acronyms because everybody that's in the educational field should know all of the RTIs, MTSS, all of them. But at some point, the public will be viewing this, so we need to make sure we clarify what the acronyms are for the sake of the community.
That's true.
I do want to say that the curriculum writing is critical in the summer. You know, the best time for us to prepare for the year is not during the year, it's in the summer. You know, it's so the summers for curriculum writing, for staff development, is what takes place here, so that's where they're working and they do most of this work, so that they can align the curriculum better, close the learning gaps, or close the gaps of the curriculum rather. That's why you heard some of them not only mention one source, but multiple sources, because not one source covers it all. You have to use multiple sources, and this is where the summer comes into play, where the curriculum writing is critical, that our teachers are writing that curriculum for their peers, and closing all those gaps that they need those resources to be able to be ready for the year. And so that's what happens during the summer. So curriculum writing is critical during the summer to be able to continue to align our curriculum with instruction and the resources that we need, so that we cover all the Texas Essential of Knowledge and Skills, what they call the TEKS.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peña.
Thank you.
And thank you. And thank you for all the questions, yes. And I'm just going to cover under also the curriculum team, where I just want to speak to pre-kindergarten. So House Bill 3 mandates that full-day pre-kindergarten be offered to all eligible 4-year-old children. And here in McAllen ISD, children can participate in a full-day program.
Dr. Devos, let me just interrupt.
Sure.
Can the team leave? I think some of them need to get back to school.
Yes, they were trying the right things.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you all. Thank you for the
Thank
work.
you. I just
Thank you.
That's why.
There's trying to leave quietly.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, they were going to get this with you. Just a bit, but thank you. So, so I'm just leaving Ms. Erica Canales in case there's questions about pre-kindergarten curriculum. So, like I was saying here at McAllen ISD, children can participate in a full-day pre-kindergarten program if they're eligible. And then also in the traditional program, right? That's eligibility. If not, they can participate through the universal pre-K program that I'm going to explain in a minute, and then either tuition with program or also the Head Start programs that we have at 4 of our campuses at Alvarez, Escandon, Pippin Zavala, and Wilson Elementary. So the traditional pre-kindergarten program is for all students that are eligible under these criteria, and it's free. It's free for those students. They don't have to meet tuition, or they don't have to pay anything. So a child must be at least 4 years of age on or before September 1st, and they need to meet one of the requirements. One is that they are unable to speak and comprehend the English language. The other one could be educationally disadvantaged. So if they are eligible for the National School Lunch Program, they're eligible for the pre-K traditional program. If they're homeless, or if the child is a child of an active duty member of the United States Armed Forces, or a member of the United States Armed Forces who was injured or killed while serving on active duty, has been in foster care, or is a child of a person who is eligible for the Star of Texas Award as a peace officer, firefighter, or emergency medical first responder. So currently we have 1,141 students under this program. And then the other program is the Universal Pre-Kindergarten Program. This was established back here at McAllen ISD in 2020, and this is an opportunity for students who do not meet eligibility come to our schools and pay without paying any tuition. So it's limited seating, it's first come, first serve. The applications are managed by our Student Outreach Department through School Mint. space is contingent upon eligible student enrollment. So how it works is that if each classroom has 17 eligible students enrolled, then we can enroll 3 universal ineligible students in that classroom. And that's how we are able to meet the expense of the curriculum and the salaries of the teacher and the paraprofessional. Additional universal seats may be allocated, so as long as we do not exceed the 22-to-1 teacher-to-student ratio. So these are some of the numbers. These are some of the numbers of the applications that we received under this program, and we did not meet the need. So we received 186 applications. 70 are currently being served under the universal program. 116 are not. So we were not able to accommodate these students.
Does that mean because there's not enough per of those campuses, so like we didn't get to 17?
We do not have the spots in the classrooms because we have more eligible students than non-eligible.
Okay.
So the priority goes to the eligible students for now, and if there's empty seats, then it can go to the universal non-qualifiers. They can go in on a first come, first served basis, but they have to pay.
Yeah.
Right, the way it is right now.
Yes, how it is right now. So these students, that is correct, what Dr. Gutierrez mentioned. These students are the ones that requested a universal seat because they were not eligible. So we give priority to the eligible students, and then the first ones that submitted the application. So they're like in a I think in a rank, right? First come, first served. So 160 students did not meet eligibility criteria, and we could not accommodate for them because their application was later than the 70 accepted ones. So what we offer them is pay tuition, right? Like a paid program. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I'm a little confused. So the 116 students, I heard they don't meet the universal qualifiers. Is that right?
Okay.
Or no, we don't have space.
We had 176 applications, 186 applications for the ones that are not eligible for pre-kinder, right? So they did not meet the qualifications that I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
They did not meet one of those qualifications. Therefore, they're not eligible.
Ms. Kittleman, is that here the ones that don't qualify the pre-K4, they call them universal,
Yeah.
pre-K4. So either you qualify because you meet the criteria,
Okay.
and the ones that don't meet the criteria are called universal.
Okay.
In other words, they have a chance to get into our pre-K4 if there's vacant seats.
Yeah.
Because the ones that qualify are priority. So let's say, for example, there's a classroom of 20 that we have in one of our elementary schools. But only that campus has 17 pre-K4s that qualify. So that leaves 3 empty seats, right?
Right.
So that we look at the kids that did not qualify, which they call universal, to see on a first come, first serve, and they get those 3 seats. But 186 did not qualify, 186 pre-K4 did not qualify this year for pre-K4, 186, but 70 were able to get in. And so you have 116 that were left out.
So if they got in, then they're paying tuition,
Right.
right?
Right. They're paying, and then there's 160 that requested, but can you put the table 116?
Yes.
The 116 that were left,
This 160.
that were left out. Out of 186, 116 were left out completely. They couldn't come in because only 70 could get in, paying because we had 70 spots available for them.
Because this also seems like a way to generate.
Exactly.
And that's what
And that's the point we're trying to get
That's
to.
what we're getting to. So the reason that I had it on the other slide is because here in green, I have the current enrollment under the universal, but 116 that were requested applications did not get in because we didn't have space, right? So that's something to think about in future.
So if you
Yes,
go
sir.
back, go ahead,
Thank you. And the point here is that they didn't meet the space that we had, but they were willing to pay the tuition.
Not necessarily.
Not
The
necessarily.
116, okay, so let me just back.
Right.
So here, this is the applications we got at 186. 116 did not get into those universal spots because we didn't have the space, right?
Right.
Of what we had allocated and what the district can fund based on the 17 and 3, right? 17-3 seats. So those 16, we offer them tuition, but from the 116, only
33 is your next slide.
33, yes.
You had something last
33,
slide
right here.
too.
Yeah. The 33 are the ones that
Shows that,
took advantage of the tuition.
And these are 4-year-olds.
4-year-olds, yes.
So who made the 17-3? Is that a state thing or that's just the MIT thing?
No, that's the way that we can fund the classrooms in order for us to be able to allocate a teacher and a paraprofessional and be able to fund those 3 extra slots.
yeah,
Because
because
if
the fee
we,
that they're paying is not gonna cover the full
Right.
cost of them.
because 17 students will be able to pay the allocation that we get for the 17 students, we're able to pay the staffing and the curriculum.
So the numbers at Gonzales are higher than everybody else.
Right.
So most of those are paying,
Or they didn't get in, 18?
or they didn't get it.
No, 18 are paying.
18
We-
got in and paid.
The most popular campuses that get applications submitted are Gonzales, Rayburn, and Castañeda. So you'll see those numbers larger. Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing, one quick observation, this is almost exactly the number we were at when we were having discussions, similar to this, about whether those individuals should be paying any tuition at all. Because the district, this was before we went, no tuition, open enrollment. It was open enrollment, but you paid tuition. And at the very end, I think it was like $1,500 tuition to come to McAllen ISD at whatever grade level we were at. And the number was around 33, 34, if I recall correctly. And we decided it didn't make any sense administratively, et cetera, to only be charging 33 people a tuition. We should just open it up.
And
that's where we are.
And that's where we're going in a different direction.
That's good to hear because if we're going to increase enrollment, we have to start with our little ones, our little Head Starter 3-year-olds and our 4-year-olds. You grow them within the district, and if you're not, if they're not having an opportunity, or maybe they just can't get in because now we're out of slots or out of space, we're only offering at whatever campuses it is, and we're not growing our own students for enrollment purposes.
The only
Yes.
concern I'm sorry.
I was gonna say yes, and I don't know that it's worthwhile to grow that at a campus like Gonzales that doesn't have space. So I think we have to do that in a very conscientious way. I mean, Gonzales is beautiful. I've been there several times, but it's way, way, way overcrowded. And the last thing I want to see is another portable.
And wait list forever at Gonzales.
Correct.
I ditto that, but I take another point, and the board has articulated this in the past, that this has got to stop, and somehow it just doesn't happen. And so I guess from my position is, it makes sense, and we got to do that, but if nobody's going to be putting any brakes, or at least categorizing where we need them, and where they're open, then we're just adding more costs, more than that cost, when you're talking about adding another wing or 2 to a campus. And this is probably not the only campus we're talking about.
But you're
So-
going in a different direction, right?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with this. I totally agree with it. Don't misunderstand me, but to Trustee Regalado's point, and she's right, is that we can't continue to expand an idea or a program and not be able to regulate where we need them, because then now we got, 125 portable buildings in the district, but you got empty classrooms on many campuses. And ideally, if you just move those students into those empty classrooms, you won't need the portable buildings. And secondly, the byproduct is you're talking about safety. I mean, getting them in buildings is a lot safer than portable buildings.
Dr. Gutierrez, are you showing us this slide because you're showing us this is the way it's going to be? Or you're showing us this slide to say this is where we are, right, but things will change?
This is where we're at right now.
Things will change.
We're showing you what we have that is current, but that we want to move away from that
Perfect.
and go to pre-K 4 for all.
Exactly.
And it's gonna cost us some money, and we'll cover that at the board meeting on the 22nd. But it's an investment for the future, because if we can bring them in at pre-K 4, the likelihood of them staying for kinder and moving on with us is high. So it's an investment. We may not get our monies on year 1, but I can assure you we're gonna get our monies the second year and moving forward. Now, to alleviate popular campuses, because there's campuses that are popular, there's somehow we need to work where, because I've seen this before, where we need to give priority to the kids that live in that zone. And then once we give priority to the kids that live in that zone, then we can say, we can only accommodate like 75 more, and that's it, because then after that, there will be this other campus available near your home. We have to establish some kind of a cutoff point to Gonzales, because then we can get to portables in Gonzales all the way to 2nd Street or wherever they're located.
Forget the park.
Yeah, and so we need to prioritize the home kids with some availability of other seats that are available for transfers. But at some point, transfers it closes, and then we can close the enrollment of that campus and say, now you have, for example, the next campus, which is whatever campus is closest to Gonzales. Which one would that be?
Jackson.
Which one?
Jackson.
Jackson. Then we can say, now it's already closed
There's a
for
lot of
enrollment.
space.
We got, if you want to, you need to go to Jackson. I think parents will either keep them at their home campus or they will go to Jackson. And if we offer pre-K 4 for all and it's already closed, but they want to go there, I think they would want to take their 4-year-olds to the next available campus, I would think.
Well, we're going to have to change our policy, because right now it's an open enrollment district.
Yeah. No, it will continue to be open enrollment, but the capacity of the building needs to close at some point.
But it's a twofold thing. There's an intra-district and extra-district. Within the district, we have not been functioning as a home campus, neighborhood campuses for some time. So that's created the issue that you're now describing, is that any person anywhere in the district, you know, it's right across the street, can say, I don't want my child to go there, I want him to go there, and we've been doing that.
We've been doing
So
that.
from what I'm hearing, we're gonna have to go back to home campuses.
First,
identify everybody to their home campus
first,
and address that issue.
Right.
To move forward.
Correct.
I support this, but we gotta clearly have to address several issues regarding how decisions are gonna be made, who's making those decisions, what campuses are going to be allowed. More importantly, we probably have to change policy about how people within the district are moving.
Yeah.
Which is different.
Yeah, at some point we need to recognize that you cannot have a campus for safety reasons of 1,000 elementary kids. It's just too much. I mean, it would be a bigger elementary than a middle school. And that could be a safety issue for evacuation purposes, for fire drills, for who goes in and out of the campus. So we have to, first and foremost, making sure that the kids that belong in that zone have the #1 priority to go there, because that's their zone. And then look into the within the district if there's possibility. And if there's availability for out of district, then that will be the third step.
I would like to see a little
Correct?
bit more.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
And we have space in other campuses.
from the beginning, I'm sorry.
No, you finish that.
Now, from the very beginning, this was a concern the board had then, is that somehow the exterior students coming injured would have priority, and it seemed to have been drifting that way because there was a push. We had to get our numbers, and our local community was not giving us the numbers. And so our own people, this is the way it started to look, we're not getting the priorities. But the only way to do that, you have to go back to home campus.
I think that there's a.
First and foremost, first
Yes,
priority.
sir, first and foremost.
And then second, the in district if it's availability, and then if
third
there's
is
still
outside.
availability, then outside.
Exactly.
And those outside, well, we don't have this campus, but this one's available, this other one's available, this other one's available.
And stick to that, even if there's some.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, I mean, the thing about it, and again, the board, when we had this discussion at the very beginning, and so the community members said the same thing, is that it's great that you're doing this because we believe we offer a greater program and an opportunity for others to take it up, and we had spaces in some parts of our campuses, but it did not make sense that I, as a taxpayer, am putting most of my local taxes into it to somebody that doesn't pay for local tax, but they get the state funding, and yet my child is having to do less so.
But this would only work, this pre-K 4 for all would be more effective if we start our calendar, and we'll talk about calendar later on, if we start our calendar, our first day of class, in the middle of August and not at the end of August. Because if we're gonna start at the end of August, those 4-year-olds are gonna go to the neighboring districts. So it has to go hand in hand, and that's what we're trying to do. We're working with a starting date to be earlier in August, and parents would love that too, because they would have them 2 weeks earlier in school, and it supports our athletics and fine art programs. And then at the same time, we have those 4-year-olds that all qualify, by all means, they're gonna start right away too. Otherwise, if we start in late August, they're gonna go to the neighboring districts and put them over there. And then we lose that incentive to keep them there ongoing for the next grade levels.
Well, some of those daycare folks that are paying daycare, we can now bring them into our campuses instead for probably saying what they were paying in daycare now. I'm for this. Again, just the concerns that we've discussed. Those have to be addressed.
And I think we need to maintain our relationship with Head Start because they're holding up our 3-year-olds,
We already contacted Head Start. We already gave them a heads up on that we're looking into going for pre-K 4 for all. And for them, it's also a win-win because they say, oh, we can open more classrooms in other campuses. Absolutely. So we've already given them a heads up. I said, if you hear it, that McAllen ISD is considering pre-K 4 for all, we just want to give you a heads up that that this may be happening, and they're all into with working with us in the possibility of expanding the programs at other campuses in our district because it also helps them.
The other thing I like about this, again, the teachers, unfortunately, we had allowed no tuition for teachers at some point, and I found out that it wasn't the case anymore. So for at least their 4-year-olds, this is great for teachers. They won't have to pay any tuition.
For our parents, they want to see us do this. I think they want to see us do this. And we want to start these kids with us. They want to see this. The fact that we're telling kids no and others are telling them yes, it doesn't seem right.
So that's part of the problem, right? We have real popular campuses, Gonzalez, Sanchez, Perez, really, but we have great campuses that people just don't know about. And you see this when they make the request. We get the calls. Well, my kid is zoned to Gonzalez, but they won't take him because, we made a choice early in the year to go over here, but Lisa Cavazos has done an amazing job of taking those families and touring them across the other campuses. Jackson, amazing. They have space at Jackson. Great school. I think that our marketing team needs to highlight all of our schools because there's just this thing about everybody wants to go to Gonzalez because it's popular. But we've got great schools in the south side. We need to really focus on making sure that our community understands that.
And that the curriculum is the same. Whatever the lesson plan is at Gonzalez, is also at Tip and Zavala. The same lesson plan, the same resources, the same training. There is not going to be a different lesson plan at Gonzalez than Tip and Zavala. It's the same lesson plan, and the system is it's a systematic approach that it is everywhere in the district. Wherever your pre-K 4 is at, whatever they're doing at Gonzalez, whatever they're doing at Milam, they're going to be doing it everywhere else in McAllen too. McAllen ISD.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You've been waiting for a while.
Okay, so what's the conversation about teachers in our district who have kids in pre-K? That's not free for them right now, and is that up for discussion?
Once we go to this.
Well, once we go pre-K for all, it's all.
Everybody.
Including everybody.
Yeah. It takes care of that issue.
I love that.
But currently,
All of these lights would disappear. If we go pre-K
it
4
will be
for all.
just everyone. But currently, we do have the availability for the universal spots, but they need to submit it being one.
We will not talk
first
about
one
universal,
system.
tuition. We'll just talk pre-K 4.
What's the teacher-student ratio for pre-K for all?
22.
But it's free.
It will be free
It will
next
be
year
free.
for all if we implement
We
it.
adopt
We adopted it. We take it into the board on next week.
Okay, because like Eric and I were talking right now, we're charging tuition
The teachers,
for teachers, but
Well,
also for
if they
community
do.
members who could just send their kids to St. John's for smaller class size, same price. That's not a non-issue anymore, but I mean,
Correct.
we adopt it.
Correct.
That, those were my questions, so never mind.
Well, the bigger thing is 116 people we were telling no to.
Yeah,
So, Dr. Gutierrez, I think you see the consensus is that everybody understands the importance of pre-K. But the reality is, we don't get the state funding for it, right? So it's not free. It's, there's a big cost to the district. We have, I don't want to name the schools because they'll, we have certain schools that are under capacity. I mean, 200 kids in a 2-story building or what? I mean, we have, is there a thought process to put like a pre-K academy in one school and put all the pre-Kers there? That way it opens up space on all the home campuses for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth that we get the entire state funding for. I think that that would be something worth discussing as well, because you could put 600 students into an academy at an elementary school and then to just a pre-K academy, and it frees up space on the home campuses for where we get all the ADA for them. Just a thought.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
great thought.
We would just need a very good building because I think right now we have over 1,000 kids. We would need like 2 schools,
Yeah.
500 and 500.
Currently, we have
Probably it's gonna be 2 schools of 600, 600.
1,000.
But, you know, right now we don't have that capability of having to do that because we don't have a school available. But it's something to consider down the road if we need to. You know, but for now, we just want to be able to afford to make it available to all parents, regardless of income, regardless of where you live in McAllen, that you can send your 4-year-old to one of our schools. Okay?
And we will be taking the presentation to the board meeting on Monday, and we will be sharing projections and the plan.
It's an investment in the future for us.
Okay, well, this is kind of dumb, but if we were to enroll a lot more pre-K students, yes, it's a cost of the district, but aren't we also getting more funding for enrollment?
Not for the
Not for them for that year, but for the next year they stay with us in kinder and moving on, we start getting funding for them.
Oh, okay, so
That's how you
pre-K
get it.
students who
It's
are
an investment.
in our enrollment, we don't even see that money until they get to the K.
Well, the ones that qualify, we do get monies right now. The ones that qualify. This would be the ones that don't qualify, we don't get funding for the year for pre-K4. But if they stay with us in kinder, then we start generating funds. So the investment is for them to come in with us in pre-K4. We may not get funded, it's okay, but to stay with us and move on kinder and on, so that we can keep them with us and we get the funding.
I'm in agreement on this, it's just my background, and I always do a cost analysis. You can multiply the number of students there by 4,275, and that tells you what you're gonna get for the year for those students. You can also do the same for these.
Yeah.
But when in reality, how much are we losing in ADA if they were kinder and not pre-K4? That same number.
Correct.
Give us that number on Monday.
Yeah,
Yes, we
yeah,
do have that.
We have a preliminary cost. My God, we spend money in many other things, and this is a good investment.
It is.
Absolutely.
Because we know once you catch, well, we're speaking,
I know, we should.
I think we all know that once you get them there, we got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once we get them there, they'll see that we have the quality instruction that they want to keep on.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Maribel Elizondo. I'm the Executive Director for Special Education, and I am the proud leader of our special education program here at McAllen ISD. So we have 3 areas. We have special education, we have the regional day school program for the deaf. I have Ms. Lara here, the director, sitting with me. And we also have our Strides 18+ program that stands for Supported Transition and Road to Independence, Development and Employment for Students. We're very proud director of all of these programs here at McAllen. This is our organizational chart. We have, again, the Regional Day School Program for the deaf, Director Ms. Lara, and then her staff. We have 3 coordinators of the special education program, and they're broken down into vertical teams, right? So we've got a coordinator who takes care of Memorial, one for Row, and one for MAC High, along with all of the different staff that they assist at those campuses. Our speech pathologists, our language pathologists, our psychologists, our special education teachers, our diagnosticians, all of the different staff that go along with them. Then we have three ESSER strategists that help out with the content at the campuses. So they, in addition to Patty Peña's team, curriculum, they go out to the campuses and they support, but in our special education classrooms. In addition
Are they
to
going
them.
away because they're ESSER?
Yes. Yes. So that's why we did our ESSER. But we're utilizing to the extent, to the very last minute, yes. So then, again, then I have also my bookkeeper and secretary and things like that, okay? This is our current enrollment. You can see that I have a 5-year history here. We are currently sitting at 3,203 students. You can see it's steadily growing every year, right? This has been a trend. And you can also see in gray, that is our dyslexia only students that now have come over to special education, right? So we started testing our dyslexia only through the special education field because they all need a full individual evaluation that's law. So you can see that we went, when we started testing, we were at 598. Right now we're at 1,079. We are currently pending another 1,011 dyslexia only students that we need to evaluate and bring over to special education. So that needs to happen by 2025.
So they're in 504 right now?
We would transition over.
The most difficult, I'm sorry, Maria,
No,
the
go
most
ahead.
difficult part's gonna be the manpower.
Yeah.
You know, because I think the state never thought about what it would take to do this. So they're giving us 2 years to do the transition, and it's very difficult because you're talking about having 30 diags to take care of everything they do, plus transfer these kids out. But it's not only us, the whole state's gonna go through that. After I called the state, they said, well, what's gonna happen if we don't meet that compliance? Where you're out of compliance, said, well, that's what's gonna happen to everyone in the state of Texas, because it's very difficult. But it has to happen.
Every evaluation, we have 45 days to evaluate one child in all different areas. It's just not one area, dyslexia. Legally, we have to assess in all areas. So that's a big change, and that's, we're working on it. You can see last year, 598, 1,079. So our assessment staff, they're working hard. They're working hard to try and get all these students into our special education program. Then we have programs by campus. We have Head Starts that we serve. We have 4 Head Starts. Those are the 4 campuses: Alvarez, Escondon, Wilson, Thigpen. And so we have a special education teacher that goes onto those campuses and just works with our Head Start students. Most of them are speech only, but we also have the special education teacher that has to go provide services, supplemental services. We also have our early childhood special education program. We have it at these 12 campuses. These are our, what we call our babies, right? Our 3-year-olds, our 4-year-olds, and 5-year-olds that qualify for special education. That has grown, right? When I first started this position 6 years ago, we only had 7 early childhood. They're not offered at every campus. It's only selected campuses, and we look at space, right? But we've grown. Every year we've been adding. Why? We're evaluating new kiddos, and they're qualifying. We had a huge, big increase after COVID. The parents chose to keep our kiddos at home. Now, they are looking for our services. They're, where are we? Where can we go? And unfortunately, we have to catch them up. We have to close those gaps because they missed a year and a half of school.
So you'd say this is pretty much a direct correlation from the COVID?
That increase for early childhood, yes. I would.
So when did we stop using Navarro? I thought that was our Head Start.
No, actually, oh gosh, how many years has it been? What?
3 years.
3 years?
So
3 years.
how is it Navarro now?
It's a
State
program for us.
In the parent center.
And our parent center also. And we use the gym for training and transition fairs for special education. I use that building whenever it's available. So then we have our self-contained classes, right? And these are all the campuses that we offer self-contained, our life skill kids. So these are kids from, kinder all the way through 5th grade, in elementaries, in middle schools, 6th through 8th grade, and then in high schools, 9th through 12th grade, and then of course our Strides program, the 18 plus, right? The different services that we offer. We have regional day school program for the deaf. We service at 4 campuses. It's always been 3. This year we added Roosevelt because we're starting again to see if with our deaf and hard of hearing students and need to open up another program. So Ms. Lado opened a program for our babies, our 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. So even on this end, we're seeing the growth and the need. Okay. Here are our numbers for regional day school program for the deaf. We're currently sitting at 309. And for this program, we have 24 districts that we serve. I'm sorry, correction, I can see Ms. Lara. We just enrolled a couple of more, so it's now at 311. She wants me to make sure that that's correct. Every student counts. And we travel from Rio Grande all the way to Mercedes to provide services for all these other districts that do not have a program like we do here in McAllen. So she gets tuition for all of those students from those other districts.
Is that strictly a memorial, or does that include Escandon and Brown? Does that number 309 include elementary?
That's the entire program. That's itinerant students and cluster sites, which are the ones that we get bussed over in.
It's everybody. Okay, so this is our Strides program, the 18 plus program. It stands for Support Transition Road to Independence, Development and Employment for Students. It's a mouthful. We currently have 68 students. They are housed at the Chief, and they work on workforce readiness goals, right? We want them to be independent once they leave our high schools. This program was initiated 5 years ago because of the fact that we did not want our special needs students sitting in high school for 8 years, repeating the same course after course. We wanted to specialize in workforce readiness and independence. And that's exactly what our 18th program does. We got acknowledged last year, and we got our state award, first award ever given for our 18 plus program. That was McAllen ISD. So we're hoping to get invited again and show off our districts.
So do we get funding for those students after they leave us, after they 18 to 21, right?
Yes,
Do we get funding from the
yes, we do. We continue to get funding. Now, once they turn 21, or 22, depending on where their birthday falls, then the funding stops.
Is it the same that we get per student?
Correct. It's the same.
Well, they get a weighted average too.
Yes.
It's the ADA, but they also get the weight.
Yes, because of the special education. But it's not more because they turn 18, 19, 20.
No.
It's the same.
It's the same.
Okay, then, these are just compliance and supports that we offer for special education. So we have our annual review and dismissal compliance, which takes care of child fine. So McAllen, the city of McAllen, doesn't matter if a child lives here in McAllen and attends Sheridan, McAllen ISD is still obligated for the child fine process. If a child lives here in McAllen and attends a private school here in McAllen, McAllen ISD is still responsible for completing that evaluation. So it's all the community. Anybody in McAllen, we've got Easter Seals, we've got the Salvation Army, right? All of these people who live in McAllen, and they say McAllen is their residence, we are responsible legally for compliance to evaluate them. Okay, so that's big. We are also responsible for advertising, for going to hospitals and talking to parents who maybe have had a child who was born with a disability, educating them, come to our schools, we will evaluate so we can start the process. We're responsible for all that, including regional day school program for the deaf.
Okay. Do you have staff dedicated to that?
We have one social worker that does that. Ms. Vanessa Rogers, our social worker, she's responsible for all of that.
Why do I feel like I hear so much about parents that are at private schools and then they come over and they're like, I didn't know that we have this. Like, I feel like there's just so much either misinformation or no information, and so maybe
We need to.
Our district or like at the state or?
no, in our district, people who chose to go to
private
state
schools?
volunteers during COVID because it was open, right? And then now that they finally moved their students over and they're already 4th or 5th grade and feel like, are then kicking themselves saying, I wish I would have known sooner because I feel like did my child a disservice for not giving them the services sooner.
And we actually do have a lot of parents that come over. They started in our private school here in our area, and then they come over once they find out. And so with that requirement that I was talking about, child fine, we have a meeting every year. It's mandated. It happens in July. And we have to legally invite all of the directors or principals from all of those private schools. And they sit with us either virtually or in person. We have to educate.
They don't want to
Yeah, they don't want.
So what if you did it through, I mean, I know you do it through hospitals, but what about through the pediatricians?
That's an idea. I would have to check to see if we can do that.
You
I would have to
You
check.
put a poster there.
Yeah, now, posters and flyers were mandated. Posters and flyers were mandated. Every school has to advertise child fund.
But
So we
but
have
not
to have.
necessarily in pediatricians.
So actually, we do.
Oh,
So
you
we
do?
do. So if you go to our PCI here in McAllen, you're gonna go in and you're gonna see a poster for child fine, and you're gonna see McAllen ISD logo, SPED logo, and our DSPD.
But what about the private
I
pediatrician?
have to ask.
We do information at pediatricians, ENTs, hospitals, daycares, everywhere except for private schools.
Yeah.
But
I just think,
To educate more.
starting like in May when, for those parents that start doing, annual physicals early in the summer, maybe it's an opportunity for us, or do an open house for pediatricians, or.
That's a good idea.
Pediatricians don't care which school their patients go to, they just want to make sure that the patients are getting the service.
Correct, and evaluated from the very beginning, from the very beginning, because it's important, because we have a legal obligation since birth, since zero. Since 0 years old. Yeah, it's about getting the word out there and advertising it, yeah.
Now, there is a certain amount of funding that we're required to give to school, private schools, from the district funds to them up to a certain amount. Is that
Correct, yes. Every year with our grant funding, we are allocated a proportionate share, that's what it's called. And they base the funding on the population in the private school. So let's say there's 10 students in a private school, the state will allocate us based on those 10, $2,000, and then you divide the 2,000 by the 10. It's minimum.
Yeah.
It's very little, very, very, very little.
Maybe that's like a great topic for
one of his.
For a super excellence talk, yes, we're meeting
The child fine process, the
Right.
evaluation process.
Right, because that's something we can share out to the community, and I think it's huge.
That's good.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so the next one I have is a link. Oh my gosh, okay. So let me just go through it real quick. Yes, you have a lot of links, special education, there's a lot to it, right? So I try to provide as much information to you as possible. So we've got child fine, our annual review dismissal meetings, when they occur once a year, mandatory. We've got our process for administrators. If I'm an administrator sitting in McAllen ISD, how do I lead that ARD? You're the instructional leader of your campus, but how do you sit and run an ARD? If you get into legal issues, what do? Right? We have all of that guidance. We also have evaluations, the timelines that I was talking about. We have 45 days to complete an evaluation, and then we have an additional 30 days to have an annual review and dismissal meeting. We have 15 days to notify the parent in writing if we're going to proceed with evaluation or we're not. So there's a lot of compliance there. Then we've got our educational plan development. How do we create an IEP, right, for each student? We have a results-driven
individual education plan.
Individual education plan. How do we have results-driven accountability. We have 18 indicators. McAllen ISD, we got our results. We received a score of a 1. That means there's no corrective action needed to submit or any recommendations from TDA for improvement. We've got our state performance plan indicators. This is all of the different data components that we have to submit through our Public Education Information Management System, our PIMS, on a yearly basis. And it's all for compliance, right? It's all or none. You either get 100% compliance or you miss the boat and you have a correct action. There's no leeway with special ed. You've got our program review. Every year we do a self-assessment. We include information from parents and staff and community members and, of course, campus staff. Other things, we work with our Public Education Information Management System, our maintenance of effort. We do school health and related service. This is a big one. Records requests, Texas Education Agency compliance, and we take care of our due process and mediations and resolutions. So something I want to highlight is our school health and related services. So this one right here, it's basically, we bill in our district for all the services that our teachers provide, our nurses provide, our transportation. If our students get escorted from Class A to Class B, they're getting transferred over with an adult, we bill for that. Then we can get those money and recoup them and reimburse to McAllen ISD. Every year, it's always been about $2 million. Well, guess what? There's been a big change. The state has said, hey, no, we're cutting 50%. 50% is what it is. Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much. So it's a lot of money, but don't worry. Right now, we've already submitted Friday. We submitted an appeal. The company that we work with is Houston ISD. They're representing us. We're appealing to Texas Health and Human Services. They're the ones that allocate the money to us. We're appealing that, no, you're changing the game plan. Our staff has already provided all of these services. It's not only McAllen ISD. This is the whole state of Texas change.
That's all the districts in the state were impacted. Up to, from my understanding, over $300 million holding back money from all the districts, SHARs. So this is a very important funding component that we would get, the reimbursements, Medicaid, all the services that we provide, they reimburse us, and now they're limiting that to 50%.
So what's our plan to make up for that?
Well, we're filing an appeal. Yeah, we got to appeal it because honestly, the only thing it means is that much money has to come out of fund balance because we already subsidize special ed.
Yes.
So it's just going to be deeper into our pockets.
It's likely that will,
we're hoping. It's not only, like we said, it's every district. It's a some districts.
But all the districts
the whole state of Texas.
All the districts are pushing for this because everybody got
cut in different areas. The service has already been provided.
And everyone got 50% or just us?
No, it's everybody across.
It was related to a 2016 audit, and based on those audit results, caused this findings to cut.
2016 audit.
And now they're cutting now for something they shouldn't be cutting because it was for the new school year, the new report that we have to issue, not from the 2022, which they're cutting for from us. So it's a big.
So it's appealable, like there's a good argument
yes.
On our side to get those monies back, well, from every district. There was a Region 1 meeting, and every region had their meetings with their districts to file an appeal, and everybody's filing an appeal, because everybody's hurting. And so we're hoping that there is power in numbers, that everybody's appealing this.
Now, are we joining with others?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's the likely cost? Is there any administrative or legal
No,
cost?
just us fighting.
No.
Yeah.
No, there's no cost. Everything has been submitted and sent email, the submission through Fairbanks, the company they work with, and a certified letter was sent. We want to make sure they get our appeal, right? So that was done on Friday. Okay, this is the revenues again. It's about 1.2 billion. It's a lot. And then these are all just a flyer of everything that we bill for, but I gave you an example already. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all want a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. Perhaps we can visit the kinder training next door and the science.
We actually should recess.
So yes.
Yeah, go.
So somebody want to give me
I move to recess.
It's been moved by trustee Saldivar and second by trustee De La Garza that we recess for 10 minutes, so we will reconvene at 2:53 p.m. The camera's still rolling. Oh, no, he's turned it on.
Yeah, I'm turning it on.
We need more coffee? What? Okay, you ready?
No.
It is now 2:53 p.m. We are reconvening in open session. Mr. Flores.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Sal Flores. I'm the RTI, which is a response to intervention 504 dyslexia director for McAllen ISD. And I was tasked to just let you know a little bit about what exactly is our role here in McAllen ISD. And definitely to support those students that need that extra support, whether it be in the classroom, whether it be for teachers, administrators, or whoever is in charge of that support. And I want to start a little bit about talking about our major responsibilities. And I think the number one thing I want to talk about is our customer service. I think for those that have been with us for a while, as board members, 5 years ago probably, we used to get a lot of calls coming in because there was a lot of issues with compliance and concerns from parents, and rightfully so, rightfully so. And I think we got to a point where our calls have really, truly have minimized a lot, and it's because of the work that we're doing as a system in our district. And I think that's made a huge impact in our district. And when it comes to that, it just aligns basically with our trainings. And if you look at your actual binders, you're gonna see on tab 4, I'm not gonna click on it, but everything's in there that you need. And it goes down to the training part. Bottom line, the training. And I want to share with you one thing that I've been doing for the past 2 years or 3 years, and I'm so glad that Dr. Gutierrez is aligned with us in that area, is how do we minimize from getting our assistant principals, our coordinators, our teachers away from the campuses, and that is by aligning ourselves with them, right? So what I have done is that I take all my RTI coordinators, which are my counselors or APs, and we align and piggyback with their meetings. So we don't pull out the coordinator another day. And if you can see that, that's how we do it. So if it's RTI Elementary, we're aligned to our coordinators that belong with the actual directors from my counseling. If we align ourselves to the RTI Middle School and Elementary, I do that through teams. Why am I gonna pull them out? And if we align ourselves to the actual APs, we're doing there in the ILS AP. That's how we do it. The only ones that you can see in there that we do pull out because of compliance is our dyslexic teachers. But we do that as needed as we get to the compliance. But normally our meetings are held after school. That's how we do those. When it comes to the writing curriculum, by all means, we've done an incredible job with Patty's team that we align ourselves completely to make sure that whatever the literacy team is actually working on, we are aligned with them as well. So normally what we do a lot of trainings through letters, which is the letters equals, of course, which is what it is, right? But it's about the language essentials for actually reading and spelling for teachers. We do that a lot. We also align ourselves a lot with the actual setups that Patty does with her teams to make sure that our kids are getting what they deserve, and that when they pull them out, they also get that extra service within the dyslexia department or dyslexia classroom itself. We also keep ourselves aligned fully with the RTI Dyslexia Homebound annual audits. That's one of the things that I'm very, very diligent about. For the past 4 years, it's going to be the 5th year, we make sure that all those audits allows us to tell us what is not working as a system, and then we bring them together, and the following year we start off with that, and that's what I monitor when I do my campus visits. It's so important for me to see that whatever is being done in the classroom or is done in the actual process of the planning, that is done correctly if we already fixed that. That's where we go about that. When it comes to the interpreting of incoming dyslexia assessment and accommodations, that's another huge thing that I take care of. I make sure if we get any kids coming from out of district or within a district that are moving on, is we look at their plans. One of the things I always tell my teachers and my coordinators, we don't touch the plan the first 6 weeks. We need to make sure that what's in there, we are buying by it and see how it works. Then we make adjustments as we go in the next 6 weeks. That's one thing that we take care of completely with those actual assessments. The other thing also we look at is we look at also the dyslexia incoming plans. Sometimes a parent might come in from a private school and say, you know what, I got this evaluation done, I need support, can you utilize that evaluation? We make sure we use our DIACs and we look at the plan and we make sure that if it meets all our criteria, we're right in to put the student in there. What I do differently is this. I want to make sure that that kid's not left without any support as we're trying to check out the plan. So we take care of that student right there and then as we start the process. So that's one major thing that we do when we look at our plans. The other thing that we look at is the Civil Rights and Department of Education Texas Agency. We make sure that anything that has to do with compliance or grievances that we've taken care of them. I'm glad to say, guys, 5 years, we've yet to have more than 2, and we have not lost 1. So we've done a great job to prove that what we do, we're doing it correctly. But again, we go back to the same thing. Systems and processes are there. And I monitor that every single time I can to make sure we're not deviating from that. Now, the thing that I'm very proud to look up there real quick is also when it comes to the CALT, which is what you spoke about, Ms. Kittleman, just a bit ago. Okay, the Certified Academic Language Therapist. Very proud to say that this year is our 2nd year. That means that between March and May, we should have 15 CALTs certified because they'll be testing out this year. So we will be the only district that I know of in the Valley that will have 15 certified academic language therapists at a district. And to top that off, in February, which is coming around the corner, I'm starting my cohort 2. So where I'm going to try to get 15 more to start the system this summer and have them there for 2 more years. Hopefully in the next 3 years, we should have about 30 certified. The state doesn't require for us to have that. It's just our district decides to go above and beyond. That's what we do. The state just says, teach them, make sure that they're processed and ready to go ahead and do dyslexia, but we go above and beyond by doing the CALT. So that's one thing that we're very, very proud about at this point in time. The other thing I also want to talk about real quick is actually our monitoring coordinators, teachers, programs, growth, and campuses. If you look at your paperwork in there right now, you can see how much numbers we have changed and grown. And it's very, very important for us to look at that because that's what makes a big impact in our district. And we notice that the RTI, we look at them, yes, it dropped, but why does it drop? It drops because the student ends up moving to 504, or we remove the student from an intervention because he's doing great. So we're not worried about that. When it comes to 504, our numbers, if you look at the 504s, have also increased. And we have an actual graph there you can see up to 6 years, so almost like 7 years as a matter of fact, and how much our numbers have grown to 1899. We increased 239 numbers. I'm sorry, let me get this right. 504, I'm sorry. We went to 1954 in those. And again, we go through those because either they moved to special ed, they're removed, or they could have been homebound and they no longer need the service. So that's why our numbers have dropped in that one as well. But when we look at dyslexia, Maribel spoke about it very clear. Our numbers are growing incredibly. When you look at the 2016-17, imagine how many kids we had, 391 kids only in dyslexia. Look at how many we have right now. We have almost close to 1,900 kids in dyslexia. So that means that our evaluations and our processes are in place and we're getting those kids evaluated and making sure we provide the services that they need in their system. And then if you look at the one for the dyslexia split, it's exactly what Maribel spoke about earlier. What we now notice is there's a transition, a huge transition in the process of getting those kids from actually 504 to special education because of the new House Bill 3928. So that's going to be something we're looking at more every day. I love how, Ms. Kittleman, you brought the MTSS. I think that's important. But I do also want to mention to you real quick that we created a new program with our dyslexia, with our coordinators for counseling. And now we have something called a whole child approach. So now we're using that system to cover the behavioral issues that we have in our school, whether it be in general ed, and we're taking care of that part of the MTSS. And when it comes to academics, we got RTI, and we're doing a great job monitoring our tier 2s every 2 weeks, monitoring our tier 3s every week, and checking on them every 6 weeks to make sure how that system is flowing in. So we did a good job in that area as well. The next one I want to show you real quick is going to be, we are right now at the pivotal point of actually making sure our kinders and first grader screeners are almost complete. By law, we're required to screen every single first grader by January 31st, every kinder by May 31st. And right now, our teachers are finishing that process. And from there, we'll look at the students and determining our post-screener process, which will be who moves to an evaluation and who does not move to an evaluation. And we'll do the same thing when it comes to May, when we hit that area. And the other thing we're proud of also is the Decesa campus simulation. Ms. Kittleman was part of it also, I think, with us this fall when we did our Technovate. Guys, we're up to 6 campuses. We've trained all 6 campuses totally on dyslexia. What does it feel to be dyslexic? So you can make sure you can be empathetic. You can also make sure you take care of that student as a whole. And you now know why that kid wants to walk out of class not reading. We understand why that kid doesn't want to participate. So I think knowing that, you'll start seeing our scores going up and growing as we move forward. And today I think Ms. Nao was telling me that when we look at the scores, I always look at special ed. I also look at our EB students and our general ed students. I don't just look at one group because I want to make sure whatever we're doing it for all kids. And she was telling me today that our EB students, high sky on those kids actually doing really well on STAR. So we're doing the right thing, and the way I do that is I take all the data from the previous year, I train all my 504 coordinators in the data, I give them the data, I give them also the teaks and things that we're gonna do. Then I meet with my secondary and elementary teachers in dyslexia. Then we combine them together and they create a plan where I go and visit and find out, did you implement that or not? Because it's not about just, oh, we gave you a plan, but is it being done? That's what we're looking at, right? So it's happening, and we're starting to see our scores going up because of that reason. When it comes to the House Bill 3928, we explained it earlier with Maribel. It's here. It's here, it's not going away. So we got 2 years to get all the students in 504 transferred to actually special education. And here's the thing that you're gonna probably get calls on, and you need to be aware of that, will be this. Why is my kid not gonna be in a lab next year? Because the new FAQ that came in through actual dyslexia says that if a child does not, or the parent decides not to go through special education evaluation, he or she will not be in a lab next year. That's the law right now, right? The new handbook will come out on May 31st. If anything changes, we'll find out on May 31st. But here's the deal, you don't leave them hanging. You still take care of those kids because you provide what? Tutoring, you still put them in interventions, you still work with a kid one-on-one, you do still small groups, except you're not in a lab unless you go that route. Because the labs are gonna be meant for those kids that truly need that support and being pulled out or within the class period. Okay, that's the way it works. Yes, ma'am.
When you're talking about the CALP, the Certified Academic Language Therapist, I know the district pays, I think we have 15 people in the cohort, and they get a $3,000 stipend. I noticed that what the program they use, I think it was called Take Flight, but I didn't see that in here. I saw Core 5. So my question is, are elementary principals, do they have the autonomy to decide if they want to use what we paid these certified, these CALP people to be trained in? Do they have the autonomy to say, no, we're not going to use Take Flight, we're going to use Core 5? Or is it mandated that they use it? I've heard from different parents that like if a school has, let's say, 40 students that are identified, 39 are on Core 5 and only 1 are on the Take Flight program. Is that a principal decision, or is that?
That's a really good question. By the way, I jumped that one. I noticed now that you spoke about it, right? So let me bring that up real quick. So Core 5 and Power Up are the programs that we use as a blended program for our district to support the child in the classroom. That's what they're for, right? Core 5 is going to be for elementary, Power Up for secondary. That's what we use. But it is a blended program. We don't put a kid on a computer. What we say is, you got, let's say example, 10 kids, 5 will be in the computer, 5 will be working with you one-on-one, and then we do a rotation, because we have a model that we follow. That's what we do. Success is where we put our actual data inside for all the plans. Now, when it comes to the program used for CALT, What we did is we did a research and we found 3 schools. Out of the 3 schools, this was the least expensive and it's still the research-based school. So we went with that to take care of what? The supplying of what we needed to do for our teachers, plus being able to get those stipends that we're gonna give them as year come by. But it's all good, it's all research, and it's done a wonderful job. And the 2 that we had went through those programs themselves.
But if we have 15 that we train in this program to pull out to go sit in front of them and actually do this program, but we're not utilizing it, is that something that we're going to be transferring over to now since we have?
As a matter of fact, Ms. Eliseda, we are now using it in the 15 schools. We're putting it in there because I think that it's so well done and so well instructed that I need for it to be filtered in. Because for them to be certified, they still got to get trained and get the hours. So they're doing it through that. My goal next year, and this is just a goal until I talk to Dr. Gutierrez, right, is that if I get 15 more, what I want to do, Mr. Aldivar, is say, you know what, why can't I have 1 in every school? So I'm going to have to probably move a teacher when there's 2 teachers of actually dyslexia. One is a yes, one's a no, or both are no's, or both are yes. If they're both yes, I might have to get 1 and move her to another school, because I would love for it to be what? Equalized across the district. Have 1 in every school if all possible. That's our goal. That's our goal in that area. Yeah. And when it comes to staff, if you can look up there real quick, it's just very simple. We got 33 campus RTI coordinators, 32 campus 504 coordinators, and these are our APs and counselors. We have 44 dyslexia teachers, 9 dyslexia aides, and 2 homebound teachers on our program. That's what we have right now as we speak, right? And last but not least, when you look at the organizational chart, it's very simple. It's 4 compliance programs, 1-man show right here with a secretary. That's all I got. So I don't have no coordinators. I do it all, and I do it all with great support from the campuses and great support from my teachers and what we do. So, and I hit the target. Impressive. Yes, ma'am.
The one-man show works. I mean, you're incredible at what you do. One of the things that I really appreciate from Mr. Flores is that he keeps me personally updated about what he's doing with dyslexia. I've taken a lot of interest in what he's doing, and so he does a really good job of, inviting me to things and stuff like that. So I really appreciate all the work and how much this impacts our students. And so thank you for that.
No, thank you. And I thought a lot of it has to do with Maribel and her team. We've been working really close now with this new transition. So I think it's going to be okay in the long run. Right now it's a little painful, but it's going to be okay because at the end we're going to determine if this kid's having any other disability that's holding them back from learning. That's just the bottom line.
Sal, I'd really just like to kind of entertain the conversation. Well, you guys can look into it yourselves too, but kind of shifting into the RTI to the MTSS, especially with the science and teaching reading improvement, because so response to intervention is a tiered system 1, 2, and 3, and it's solely academic. It solely incorporates only academics, while multi-tiered systems of analysis, systems of support are the whole child. They're the environmental, they're the behavioral. And I know that a lot of districts are now kind of shifting, especially with the new legislation and stuff like that. So I don't know what, I don't know if we can look into that.
We can look into it. I just feel that right now, our goal, at least for now, finish up the year, I feel because of the expense, because I'll tell you the truth, NTSS, all it's doing is asking for so much money to train your staff to get it done. But in reality, we're already doing it. We're doing the academic through RTI. And now with this new child approach that Mrs. Cabrera created, it covers the other 2 areas. But definitely we'll look into that. Okay. I got no problem with that at all. Yes, ma'am.
I just have one question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
You're talking about the various programs and the training, etc. Are you following the students, total number of students, and see what their progress is, and doing anything different on children that are not meeting their grade level or not meeting the
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's one of the biggest things that I do. If you look in your actual binder, I did all the data analysis to find out which of the kids are not progressing, so we can support them individually. Because I'm not here about saying, oh, 50% of our kids passed STAR. Well, yeah, but what happened to the other 50? What are you doing with those, right? And that's where I'm coming in deep and working with them one-on-one with a teacher and the coordinator to give them that support they need. But not only that, we're also making sure that we provide the services through the Core 5 Power Up. Man, if y'all would see the data that brings out and how much it's helped our children progress, you'll be surprised. We're the first school in the region to actually get the letters programs completed. No one in the region has done it. It's a 2-year program, so our kids are following the science of reading to the T and getting it all taken care of for every student. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to continue, but we're going to improvise a little bit so that you can get some other areas to cover. We're going to go with assessment with Ms. Quintanilla, then I'm going to have Ms. Williams to talk about ESSER and Mr. Trevino facilities, so that way we cover curriculum, funding, and facilities, and then Ms. Luna, you have also a part. We'll cover those, and then we'll see what time takes us at that time, because I know that we have a closed session to discuss some items, but not that the others are not important, they're extremely important. It's just I'm trying to see that you can get a range of different programs, different things that are going on in the district. So it'll be Ms. Quintanilla, then Ms. Williams, and then Mr. Trevino, and then Ms. Luna, and we'll see where time takes us at that time. And the others, the other programs, perhaps we can do it at another time, and that way we cover everybody. Okay? So now it's accountability.
Christine, now what page in our, if we're doing a digital?
Accountability, it's slide 47. If I'm not mistaken.
And then in your binder, it has a
tab as well.
A tab that says accountability after the numbers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and begin. Accountability, I'm Christian Quintanilla, the Director for Accountability. It is a new department this school year. I have our vision and mission, of course, and I do have a table of contents of the areas I will cover. So I do have our team, the organizational chart, we do have an accountability A through F overview, and then we'll talk a little bit about the elementary support, systems of support for elementary. So this is the organizational chart, and like Mr. Flores, this is my team. Nonetheless, I do work, this is Claudia Mora, our secretary. She is a great secretary who is shared, and also I work with all and every department. So we work very closely with Dr. De Hoyos' IS directors, and of course with facilities, budget, and so on and so forth. Okay, so in your packet, you do have, what is A through F accountability? This is the overview. So we hear about it, we say, well, what's the accountability system? Well, it is a statewide rating system that it is established by TEA, which is a Texas Education Agency. So it rates the public schools with an A through F rating, a letter grade. So what it does, it has 3 domains. I'll go directly into that specifications in just a minute. So then based on the student performance, on the assessments, based on the student groups such as bilingual students, special education students, everyone is progress monitored and rated. It is compiled, they're averaged out, there's a calculation system, and that's how you get an overall rating for a campus, and then collectively for the district, okay? So then TA, it's based on the Texas Education Code, Chapter 39. A through F accountability is a tool to help us meet continuously improved goals for children. It is fostering a culture that supports growth and continuous improvement when this performance information is public, is a difficult and critical task for educators. So again, this is the task for the Commissioner of Education. It is established in Texas Education Code 39. So the accountability system weighs three big objectives here, being fair, making sure that mathematically it's possible for the students who are disadvantaged to be monitored and be successful. There's rigor in this assessment, as well as there's transparency. The manual is transparent, how the rules of the game or how the rules of the accountability system, they're set forth. So you're saying, so then why don't we have our data, right? If we're being transparent, and why is there such delays? I caught that one. So why? Well, this is our little journey. This is a brief history of A through F. This is what has happened, but I want to call your attention, well, right here. House Bill 22 passed. So because of that, then we started transitioning from meeting standard to improvement required into the what if campus ratings, and finally in 2019, the fully executed A through F accountability system. After that, the campuses were rated. Then what happened in 2020? Well, COVID hit us. And because of that, then the state was declared a state of disaster. So then comes 2021, yes, the students were able to take the STAR assessment. However, they were optional. So parents could opt out. So therefore, it wasn't a true picture of the entire campus or district. Not everyone took the assessment. And so again, they were not rated. It was declared state of disaster. And then finally in 2022, that was spring of 2022, we received our ratings in August of 2022, A through F. And then here, what about 2023 accountability? I do want to mention that in 2022 was the last year of the STAR 1.0, meaning that was the traditional STAR test, paper pencil test, and then moving forward, well, what about the accountability in 2023? Well, this is what happened. So there's a lawsuit that came, and this is Pflugerville and Kingsville joined forces and sued the Commissioner of Education, TEA Commissioner Morath. So on October 10th, we had a temporary injunction. There was a hearing. Then also in October 13th, the deadline for TEA, which is a Texas Education Agency, to amend the motion. Then in the October 20th, there was a deadline for the plaintiffs, to file a response to the Commissioner Morath. Then soon after, on October 20th, the judge issued her decision. And they said temporary injunction granted. So TEA information came through where TEA temporarily prohibited issuing 2023 A through F accountability ratings, meaning the letter grade. So what is public that you received and it came through last week is your Texas Academic Progress Report, which is a taper report. That is public information. It's been posted as well as what the ladies presented on the result-driven data. So what happened with TEA? Well, right now, Kingsville and Pflugerville, there's a motion right now to halt the ratings to be public. All the information is there, so anyone who can go into TEA, into the Texas Education Agency and calculate, they can give you preliminary information. They can figure it out. But right now, basically, the lawsuit states that there was an abuse of power or acting or done beyond one's legal power from TEA, the Texas Education Agency. They're saying that our Commissioner of Education, there was an abuse of power because the test changed from STAR 1.0 to in 2023 to STAR 2.0. So there was a redesign of the test. There was a redesign of the calculations. There was talks about that. But when we took the assessment and they were ready to release the scores, we had no idea what the manual, the accountability manual stated. We didn't know the rules of the accountability system, and the ratings were about to come out even before the rules of the accountability system. So hence this action. So as I mentioned, then the accountability manual became official. It came out on October 31st. Mind you, we were supposed to have ratings September, mid-September, nothing happened. Injunction happens, and then the manual is still not out. And then basically they're telling us that possibly we'll have our rating letter grade February 12th. So next week there should be a decision on that. The manual became officially adopted, the final manual, November 14th, 2023. So basically what that means is finally, as an accountability director working alongside with the assessment director, we had the calculation rules, the recalculation of how each of those areas were going to be added up and divided to give us a score. So I'll go into what that means of each area. Okay? So the accountability system is broken up into, like I mentioned, 3 domains. Domain number 1, it is your student achievement. Domain number 2, your school progress. As you can see, school progress has 2 parts. It has part A, academic growth, and it has part B, which is your relative performance. Academic growth measures students from one test from 1 year prior to the next, how much they improved. If they grew a year, they earn points for that. If they grew a performance standard, a performance level, either from approaches, meets, or masters, they earn points. as well as if you have failed an assessment and then you pass, you earn bonus points. So this is a methodology for Part A in school progress. And then Part B, relative performance, it measures the economically disadvantaged percentage, and your STAR performance, it measures it against the 40 comparison group schools. Schools that are comparable to your demographics and to your economically disadvantaged percentage. However, in high school, college and career ready percentage earned calculates into relative performance. So what happens here in the accountability system? This is worth 70% of the district's overall score. Meaning that whichever domain we perform the best, that's where the commissioner, the Texas Education Agency, takes that 70%. For example, if we earned in domain 2, but look, we have three opportunities. We have domain 1, domain 2 part A, and domain 2 part B. So those are the 3 opportunities to earn all the 70% points here. So in doing so, if we earned in, historically, McAllen ISD earns the high rankings through Part B, the economically disadvantaged. So if you earned an 88, for example there, or a 90%, what's 90% of the 70 points? And lastly, the last 30 percentage points come from the domain 3 closing the gaps. And that's where we look closely to the student groups. Emergent bilinguals, special education, migrants, homeless, and the race, the different ethnicities as well. And in this domain, that's the big A through F accountability system, but we're also measured against the distinctions. There's another state accountability system that says the percentage of students passing at high levels compared to your 40 comparison schools. If you land in the top 10, the top quartile, then you earn a star. Aside from a letter grade, campuses also get stars. So this is a very critical and it's very tedious work and a lot to monitor, but we do an excellent job here at McAllen ISD. So this accountability system, just broken down a little more, elementary and middle schools, how they are 100% comes from the STAR assessment for the domain 1. In domain 2A, it's the academic growth in STAR. Domain 2B, it shows you relative performance at EcoDis, and then how domain 3 is broken up. So everything is very critical for progress monitoring. And I failed to mention the traditional high schools. I do want to highlight the fact that CCMR, which is college and career military ready, 40% affects them in domain 1. Also, CCMR is 50% of their domain 2 part B, and CCMR is also in your domain 3. So as you can see, yes ma'am.
Quick question, academic growth, what is that?
What exactly?
Yeah.
So academic growth is any student who has an assessment, for example, that is not applicable to 3rd grade. In elementary, it's for 4th and 5th graders, for example. We'll just use the basic example of elementary. So a 4th grader took a test in 3rd grade, a reading language arts assessment. Therefore, the student will take a test in 5th, 4th, or 3rd and 4th. So then they measure how much improvement happened from one grade level to the next in the same content area. In reading and mathematics, that's what's measured.
Oh, so every year not only do we get their performance for that year, but we also have this
The comparison growth. Okay. Yes ma'am, it's the growth. So if I passed in 3rd grade, approaches is the passing, the low level, the passing, but it's the lowest rank, meets, and then masters. For example, if I'm a 3rd grader, I took the reading language arts assessment and I passed at the approaches level in 3rd grade. I get to 4th grade, I take the RLA, the reading language arts assessment, and now I pass it in the meets level. I earned a point of growth. Okay? However, and conversely, or consequently, if you do not grow, if you do not improve, you are still counted in the denominator, but at 0 points for the numerator. Okay? Thank you. So, moving forward, these are the preliminary scores from McAllen ISD. Again, this is...
Can you go back to
Oh, there it is. this clicker. So these are preliminary calculations as an overall rated of a B. Again, this is out in the public as a Texas academic report, progress report, not the letter grade issuance just yet. It'll be official when the commissioner and the judge have that order in February.
Okay, so I guess what I'm confused about is, I know with this new rating system, we technically are earning a B, yet our students are performing better than any year.
Correct, yes.
So how do we communicate that?
So we can communicate that when we have the analytics in that system where all the regional schools, all the region schools or the state schools are in this system, and we can do a comparison report. So if you grab the Texas Academic Progress Report, TAPR, and then you rank our approaches, meets, and masters, it will demonstrate that we're high above all the other regions or region and state. So how do we communicate that? We also communicate the fact that the test was different. It had a redesign. They have different test questions. And as you recall, I mentioned it went from STAR 1.0 to STAR 2.0, meaning that there was a change. In addition to that, in the manual, and I didn't want to share too much of the, because I have 30 seconds. In the manual, it already also reconfigured the redesign of each, in Domain 2, the calculations were reconfigured, and Domain 3, they also reconfigured the calculations. What does that mean? For example, if I scored a raw score of a 51, it equated a B. Well, now that 51 equates a different grade. It could be a C.
Well, I wanted to add, that's why we're in a lawsuit with TA, well, the commissioner. But if they went ahead and did the recalculation with the old system, and we still ended up with a B. So we dropped. I want to make it clear, we dropped. Because the recalculation that was done like previous calculations when we had an A. And guess what the score came out to be like? Still an 87. So we are at an 87 regardless of what the score is new or using the old system, it was still a B. All right? And we don't have a chance to make an A because to make up 3 points, it takes an act of Congress, you know, a district our size. So I do want to make that a point that yes, there was a difference in the calculations and the comparison of a new test versus an old test. But at the end of the day, the commissioner TA ordered, okay, recalculated like if it was like it used to be, and we still came out at an 87. So we didn't even gain those 3 points to be back at an A. So technically speaking, we have dropped to a B.
But this is across, like, I'm assuming this is COVID slide a little bit too, right? Is it?
Not necessarily, because
these are now third graders who didn't get kinder first.
I think where it is a little bit of a discrepancy with COVID is when they're trying to compare an old test with a new test. Because last year they took STAR 2.0, but the year before they took STAR 1.0, and they're trying to measure progress. Well, there's 2 different tests.
Right.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, even the calculations, which were favorable to see how we would look like, they still ended up giving us a B. So regardless of whether we use the old calculations or versus the new calculations or the old test versus the new test, they were trying to look at it in many different ways to give us the benefit of the doubt, but we still came out at an 87 regardless. We still came out at a B. So we got work that we need to make up to get back to an A regardless. We got to make it up to an A. And when the scores come out in February, we may have a campus that may have a D, and we need to improve on that campus too.
Well, we could anticipate all of this though, because of the change from the 1.0 to the 2.0, you could anticipate that
I think
we're going to drop some.
a lot of districts, they have the A, but they're not going to get an A because if one campus gets a D or an F, the highest they can give is an 89. But still, we don't have a chance because we have an 87 and then we have a campus that is a possibility of a D, and we know that, and we're going to have to even if we had a 91 or a 90 for an A, we're not gonna get the A because the campus that has a D drops your grade to an 89. However, for us, it's an 87. We have a campus that maybe is a D. And so we have work to do now. We have to bring our district back up where it used to be. But we dropped tremendously from a 94, 95 to an 87. That was a big drop.
Is that a 95?
Yes, sir.
It was a 90, okay, we dropped from a 95 to an 87. That's a huge drop because that's about, what, 8 points? It's a big drop.
From last year to this year, we dropped.
Yeah, we dropped about 8 points. So this will be the first time that we go down to a B based on what happened last year with last year's test.
I like your approach that we're not going to be in blame game here. We're preparing for what we're going to be in August.
Right.
So this time, I'm sure is what you're conveying to us, you're going to be focusing in the areas that you need to focus.
Right.
To get us in a position that we can now be back at the level from an instructional standpoint and preparing standpoint in August.
Right, and that's been our conversations even before I got here and when I got here when the teams were presenting and I had a chance to see some presentations. Everybody's focused that we know what it is, we know what it looks like, we know the data, we just not take it from there and improve. I mean, we just gotta improve.
Now, once it's all finalized, we're gonna circle back around. You're gonna be presenting to the board whatever the outcome is. So explain what you're gonna do next. I'm
Correct. Correct. Because we have to present our grades. We have to present them to the board for the committee. Yeah. The only reason we haven't presented is because of the lawsuit. That there's on hold. Everything's on hold. We don't know what's gonna happen in February. I don't know what's gonna happen. The only thing I want to say is that the basis of the lawsuit was mainly because the commissioner was required to release the scoring criteria in August of 22, August of 2022, by law, for the test that was gonna be in the spring of 23. We didn't get those scoring criteria tables until way after the test, until like way after, and by law, it was supposed to be released at the beginning of the school year for the spring semester. And it didn't happen. And guess what? We don't have the scoring criteria for this test either, and it was supposed to be released in August. So there's another issue there, because the same issue that is preventing this letter grade to go out for 23 is the same issue that's going to be for 24. That's about to take place, because we were supposed to have that scoring criteria by August of 23, and here we are in January of 24, and we still don't have it, and the kids are going to test in a couple of months. And how can we work with that? So
Thank you.
I don't know if I.
Thank you, Doctor. So again, and moving forward, I do want to mention or reiterate what Dr. Gutierrez mentioned about the academic growth. It is evident that in domain 2A, as I mentioned, the academic growth, because they're measuring apples to oranges, that is the biggest area of need that you saw the regression that did affect a lot the overall rate. Okay. I guess I also provided you the high school information. So again, everything is preliminary data, overall scoring, overall rating, but this is very vital for our district to move forward with the solutions and the action steps that we already have in motion. And we also provided you the middle school information moving forward. As you can see, baby blue means it's a B, dark blue is an A, green is a C, and then you have any D's would be highlighted in yellow, and any F's would be in red. And then you have the elementary information as well. Yes, ma'am.
So some of these schools are surprising. Why are some who might seem to get A consistently now appearing C? I'm sure that's complicated, but.
So why may one, I'm sorry.
I don't want to single out any schools publicly, but I guess I'm just seeing a few and I'm really surprised at their ratings. And I guess I'm just wondering, do you know what, any reason why some are?
It goes back to the formula. See that most schools, Ms. Kittleman, got their letter grade by relative performance, which is domain 2B. or they got it through progress, which is domain 2A. So they either got it to 2A progress or 2B relative performance. When you look at 2A progress, which I believe is the majority of the campuses.
The majority of them.
They got it in 2A in progress, that's when they were comparing the same test. But now with this 2A progress, that they were comparing the STAR 1.0 with STAR 2.0, and that's been the argument with the commissioner. How can you be comparing progress with two different tests? So consequently, you see the changes in the letter grades on the campuses. Because they're comparing two different, the year before they compared the test from that year to the one from before, but it was STAR 1.0, STAR 1.0. Then we fast forward to now, we have a new test, STAR 2.0, and they took the STAR 1.0 the last year, the STAR test, or that old test, and they were trying to measure progress with two different tests. Not valid. So therefore, you see a difference in the campus grades.
And then this next slide is going to right here. So moving forward, the districts are being rated based on proportional weighing. So meaning that the higher the enrollment that affects each area, each domain, impacts the overall rating. For example, in domain 1 or in all the accountability system, our largest campuses are the high schools. Therefore, high schools collectively, when you add up the percentage of impact that they have about a 41% impact of the entire district grade. And if these campuses were in the past earning their A's or high B's because of domain 2A, which is your growth, that is why that percentage was detrimental, it impacted us tremendously because they went back in the growth because they measured the oranges and the apples. And then in your 2B, which is your relative performance where they compare the STAR with the ECODIS, well, the STAR test, domain 1 historically has been average, so they averaged out to a B. So they earned their high B's through possibly 2B, domain 2B. So I reiterate, this is proportional weighing, and each school contributes a percentage in each domain for the collective rating of the district. So the ones that impact us the most are the high schools, okay? Because they have the highest enrollment. And I know my time is over, so I will let you know that I broke down the domain 1. I broke down each domain to kind of drill down on what they mean. For example, domain 1 for elementary, it means the performance of STAR, solely STAR, and the middle school is the same. However, in high school, the domain 1 for high school is broken down with STAR, college, career, military ready, CCMR, and 20% of the 20% graduation rates. That means they take the best graduation rate of the years, okay? And then the career and military, CCMR, well, the students earn their points through meeting an AP exam, TSI complete, they get a complete dual credit course, they earn an industry-based certification after completing the program of study. So this is how domain 1 is broken down, and this is how we monitor our health of the instruction and how the schools are progressing and moving forward. Domain 2, in the career and military ready, again, for accountability purposes, students, we earn points when students they meet the Texas Success Initiative, the TSI, or they meet criteria in the APIB, or they earn an associate's degree, or they qualify. Nonetheless, in McAllen ISD, we want to ensure that the students, not only do we meet accountability purposes, but we earn outcome bonuses, meaning that we earn the funding that comes attached by students being complete with the TSI criteria, the Texas Success Initiative, and enrolling in a post-secondary education institution. So we want to ensure that in McAllen ISD, we are college, career, and military ready, that it's not an or, that we are able to provide this and more.
It's not a slogan either.
It's not.
There's measures for all of that.
Correct, yes. And here we go. And domain, and like I mentioned, we do have teams as well. We do have teams for the college, career, and military ready, and that's how we support the students when we monitor. And again, earlier today, we did talk about the 60 by 30 Texas plan. This is the governor's plan that 60% of Texans should have earned a certification, an industry-based certification by 2030. And that means that it is our responsibility as public educators to ensure that students are headed in that direction. So that is the plan that the governor has in place. And again, it's to increase that the 25 to 34-year-old Texans hold a certification or a degree by 2030. So that is our responsibility as public educators.
That certification, is it an actual classic certificate, or could it be like Windows, Microsoft, or something like that?
The-
That's
those-
certified as well?
Yes, ma'am, they're industry-based, so through CTE, there's a list, and in fact, we had the new list, it's not updated, come out last week. So Texas Performance, TEA, sends out a list, and Ms. Silva, which is our CTE director, she monitors those lists, and then they work together with Dr. De Hoyos and the team to ensure that we are providing those courses for the students, and then they post them in the curriculum board.
I just want to say, to that point, I just want to say that I hope that our dual enrollment, dual credit offerings increase at every campus. And so I don't really want to get into that one a whole bunch because it's kind of a sore subject with me as far as how we offer and what we offer at each campus. I think we need to offer it regardless of whether they say, oh, we don't really want it, we're not interested, we need to offer it. So,
Well, if I could just interject in my presentation, I was going to, you can look, there's a slide, and you can see that data does show that we've been increasing the number of dual enrollment.
yes, I
We took
appreciate
a
that.
big hit a while back due to some changes at STC and course offerings, but we've made it come back, and then I think next year you're going to see more classes at the comprehensive high schools.
I love that.
And if I may add,
Yes.
if
We
we
want to
increase,
increase on that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. It's
as we increase also the Texas Success Initiative assessment readiness, we will see an increase in dual enrollment.
yeah. I mean, we do great at Achieve, but at the other campuses, we just need to increase it. But I appreciate that those numbers are going up. I think it's more opportunity for our kids.
So here's a drill down for Domain 2 student progress, as I was mentioning the growth from 1 year to the annual growth and how the campuses are compared based on their student achievement and their economically disadvantaged. They're compared in the 40 comparison group. That's where they land in for part 2B. And then lastly, we do have our progress monitoring systems in place. I wanted to provide that for you. And then closing the gaps to ensure that we are, every Student Success Act and House Bill 22, it mandates that we have a system that monitors and ensures that the students who are disadvantaged students, their needs are met. So this system in Domain 3, that's where we monitor the students who are economically disadvantaged, homeless, foster, military, Hispanic, special ed, former special ed. So this is a system that it ensures that we are progress monitoring not only all students, but we are targeting and providing those support systems for those students who are identified under different umbrellas.
Also, I love the fact that these data systems are in place and they're tracking everything. And everything is color-coded. I'd love an agenda. I'm gonna a little.
Oh, a legend or a little key.
Yeah, I'd love one of those to tell us what, y'all know what the colors mean, right?
Yes.
Kind of decipher it, but I'd love to have just.
Absolutely.
A legend.
A legend.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am,
Thank
a
you.
legend. Alrighty, so that is the accountability overview. And their systems of support, as Dr. Gutierrez was mentioning, we have the tiered support for the campuses needing assistance. We have a network of support with the IS directors and myself, and we calibrate and debrief with our superintendent to ensure that we're going in there, not just offering recommendations, but aligning the support systems.
Good presentation.
Yeah.
Are the dashboards still being utilized in the various campuses?
The dashboards.
That's where you have a room and you have the information.
Oh, the data rooms, yes, sir, the data rooms.
We
Yes,
call
sir.
them dashboards, sorry.
Yes, they use their data rooms, they host their PLCs and grade level planning so that they can reference their data and progress monitor.
Excellent.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Good work.
I also think, I know we're saying ideas for super excellence, but this topic seems like definitely we need to do some
Yes.
stuff on because this is gonna scare a lot of people. And it's a tough concept to understand and comprehend. So-
Yeah, it's very intense, and the data and the assessments and all the changes. I agree, Ms. Kittleman, we gotta continue to bring it up present it to the community, to everyone, and have a better understanding. just looking at the way they come up with a grade is so confusing. And imagine trying to explain that in Spanish to the parents. I mean, we have a hard time understanding it in English. Because we're supposed to explain it in Spanish too. Okay, so I don't know about that one. My Spanish is good, but I don't think it's that good. But we're supposed to.
Good work overall. It's hard. Trustee Kittleman is correct. It's tough. It's a real tough area.
It's tough, but you know what? Our kids are resilient. Our teachers are very good at it. Our support staff is good at it, and we're gonna come through. I mean, we've done it all for the last 20, 30 years that they've been changing the testing and changing the criteria. We end up coming back to an A. And we're
Yeah,
gonna.
but will this affect our enrollment too, like for new, you know, because I know people, like when they move here, Zillow is like A-rated campuses, that's obviously going to change too.
Correct.
But across the board, I think every district has experienced.
I think right now is like we're all in the same boat.
Right.
We all had a drop, so now it's our job to get back up. But the state has to also be fair with the way they're doing things. I don't think it has to do with performance. I think it has to do more with the formulas.
Right.
And so, but we'll work it from there.
I would suggest as we move forward with this, since there's a lot more information, we can get to all of it, and there's probably more that wasn't presented, is to, Trustee Kelman's point, is to walk us through, to take it in segments. And maybe worthwhile until we know what the bills or the outcome of that case, then it kind of lead us to that point. So it's not sobering to hear it at the very end.
No,
That's the thought.
what Ms. Quintanilla covered is a lot, you already, and you get a good picture of this system. And yes, there's a lot more, the details, and you know, sometimes a lot of it is in the details. But we'll cover that. We're gonna move on to ESSER because life after ESSER is coming. And we have to get used to it.
Just a thought real quick, I gather we're not going to hear from Ms. Nitch today, and that's all right.
Not today, but we're going to hear from her.
Yeah, but since we were talking real quickly about dual language to what was mentioned.
Dual enrollment.
Dual enrollment. No, we're talking about, not dual language, dual enrollment, yes, I'm sorry. Dual enrollment, when we met with one of the institutions of higher learning, one of the takeaways I had, and it's something that we've heard from individuals whose students, for whatever reason, did not do as well as they hoped at an institution that they went to, higher learning. And so that the family brings them back and puts them at STC. Or they start them off at STC before they move on to the institution they ultimately want to go to. And I know we're doing really good with dual enrollment in a lot of areas, but one area I wanted to talk about real briefly is that we should be targeting those individuals that are not maybe aware that they could have already started that in the school. In other words, it sounds like many of these parents I've talked to, they think their child's performing at a certain level and they're going to go to an institution of higher learning, a very prominent one maybe, and then for whatever reason it doesn't quite work out at the very end. And so, how do we figure out or identify those individuals that are not necessarily already involved in the dual enrollment test to realize they are planning to go to college? Maybe we got to bring them in and coach them to say, you know what, you don't need to wait. You can start them here, and then you know, are they ready to go their freshman year, or you have to wait a little bit. It's just the thought.
And that's why we're pushing for the TSI. We're pushing for that because the TSI, they have to have that test successfully passed to be able to take dual enrollment classes. And we're pushing for that test. And we want to push for more dual enrollment because it helps us with CCMR, College Career Military Readiness, and it helps us with the accountability.
So right now they're not required to take that test?
No, they are. But we're not pushing it as much as we should, but they are. We got to push it more, even going down to 8th grade and have 8th graders take it.
Good.
Thank you. Now we go to STC.
Because I asked about like why.
Yes.
And I think Rosalba had mentioned how at Achieve, like that was like forced. Like they went all the way down to 9th grade or starting to take it and be successful at it. So we really need to make sure.
They're successful at 8th grade. They're successful at 8th grade before they
But we're
even
not
go
doing it
over.
at
But we're not doing it at the other high school.
We're going to move it down to 8th grade and more intentional at all high schools.
Good.
All right, we're going to move on to ESSER because that money is running out, but we got to do some things to keep us financially afloat. And ESSER we can do some of that, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that, and just to see where we are with ESSER, because that money's running out, but we got some leftover money that we can put into a general fund and keep us in the planning financially for the next year or two until we stabilize our finances in our district. But go ahead, Ms. Lee.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Dr. Gutierrez, Laura Williams, Director of Purchasing. I do want to bring forth or re-highlight, as we all know, we've been on this ESSER road venture for the past 3 years between ESSER 1, 2, and 3. To re-highlight the purpose of ESSER's, or all 3 ESSER, was to safely reopen and sustain the normal daily operations of our campuses, and then to address the impact that the coronavirus pandemic had on our students. Between ESSER 1, 2, and 3, that brought into our district approximately $139 million. These funds, the $139 million, did provide us the opportunity to invest in the future of our students, as well as provide or offset our local monies in order to fund specific projects, which I'll get into the 4 main categories. These projects did align to McAllen ISD strategic plan and the goals and the strategies that you see listed here. Now, with ESSER 1, we did break that down into our 4 main categories: student learning, student needs, emergency, and then safety. ESSER 1, we had approximately $9 million. I do want to highlight that these were not new monies to the district, because when ESSER 1 came about, it did, our state funding was drastically reduced. So that was not new monies to the district. Now, ESSER 2. As we know, we had a little over $40 million that came into our district for ESSER 2. One of the allowabilities was to be able to swap the $40 million for payroll, which allowed us to have $40 million in 199. We also know it as 194 local. So we, as a committee, also from all of our stakeholders, we did have to go through a comprehensive engagement process where we had teachers, we had principals, administrators, central office staff, parents that all came together and provided input into how we would spend the $139 million. So it was decided, again, 4 main buckets: student learning, student needs, emergency, and then safety. This is current as we are where we are today regarding our ESSER 2 local monies. We have approximately $17 million left of the $40 million that has not been spent to date. You can see each one of the items, the projects within staff and student learning facilities, the projects there: student needs, safety, and emergency closure. You can see the budget, the ESSER allocated expenses, and then the balance. And then on the last column, you can see, based upon conversations with Dr. Gutierrez and Ms. Luna, we were tasked, Ms. Bolte and myself, to see where we are currently at. If any of these expenditures, the monies that are left, we could pull to help supplement or offset or add to our 199, as Dr. Gutierrez mentioned in our December board meeting. TEA has been talking to us about the past 3 years, the ESSER cliff, and how to avoid that. So with what they tasked Ms. Bolte and I with, again, was to see where we could pull monies in order to offset or keep from having that ESSER cliff, which will transition us into the next year or two after ESSER. Because as we know, ESSER ends September 30th of 24. Obviously, we will still have the closeout, we will still have potential audits, things of that nature, but it will come to a close in September 30th of this year. Now, of the 17 million, most of those projects are complete. You do see a couple of items that are deemed ongoing. Those are projects that we can have discussions on. I know we have had discussions with our legal counsel regarding some of these projects because obviously there were MOUs and/or contracts in place. Going on to ESSER 3, again, our 4 main buckets. That is aligned across all 3 ESSER monies that have come in, where we are current budget, allocated expenditures balance, which would leave us with, or to date, we have approximately $15 million in ESSER 3 monies that have not been spent to date. Now, if we were to pull all and/or stop all projects, that would bring in approximately 32,000, almost $33 million that we could put into 199. However, I do want to bring to light that approximately $2 million of that will need to be kept for payroll in order to take us through June of this year. And then there are 2 areas that, again, legal counsel has been going through the MOU and contract to see if there is a way that we could retain those monies that have not been spent to date. So approximately we were looking at wanting to add to the general fund 25 to 30 million. Pulling everything minus what we need to keep in there for payroll, we're at about that 25 to 26 million dollars if everything is halted, and we can move that into 199 funds. Thus to keep from that ESSER cliff.
Yes, and it's because we were supposed to have been doing this for the last 3 years, but we didn't. But fortunately, there's monies that have not been utilized. Ms. Williams has done a good job in keeping track of everything. So we can put it into the fund balance, the general fund, as we move on for the next year and 2, because remember, there's gotta be, we're paying for the pre-K4, we're gonna be talking about salaries for staff. Then obviously there's gonna be things that we need to do for facilities that are coming up. And you'll see as the budget process starts that we're gonna have to put some monies back to McAllen ISD and back to the staff and back to our kids. And this is the last opportunity that we have to shift ESSER monies into our fund balance to stay financially sound for at least the next year or 2. We had not been doing it, but we have money that is there, that projects are going to have to be put on hold, because anyways, if we try to do them, we may not be able to do them based on the deadline. And this is the last opportunity we have to build our fund balance to be better. If we don't do it, then we're not gonna build that fund balance like we should have been building the last couple of years. So what we're trying to do is catch up with those monies that we could have been putting in little by little into fund balance, and we didn't do that. And TA is going to audit all of these monies. And where do they want to see the monies go to? To students and to staff and to McAllen ISD, not somewhere else. And a lot of districts have been heavily criticized because of how they utilize those monies. And it was supposed to be to close the learning gaps, to support the teachers, support the kids, and do our initiatives that we need to do as a district through those monies. And to be aware of the ESSER cliff, because that's coming up, and we overestimated the enrollment. Am I correct on that? That we overestimated the enrollment by how many kids? 300 kids. So we overestimated the enrollment. That's gonna be a hit.
Now, that was last year we overestimated.
This year as well.
For this year as well. We're down 350 right now.
Yes.
And we were already overestimated before that number. So it's almost 650. Would that be fair?
No, it's just a 300.
Just a
It's only
300.
300.
Yeah, just a 300. But
From a budget standpoint, but from an operating standpoint, we're down an additional 350 from the budget, right?
Yes.
So it is 650.
300 one year, 350 another.
Yeah, that's a different year. That was the year before that we were.
But we overestimated 300 plus. All right? Then you know, fortunately, the TRE came through and it passed, so we can utilize some of those monies to do part of the raise. But at the end of the day, the budget is still at a deficit at 6.2 million. Okay? So we have to make up that money too. And so this is where this ESSER, converting it and putting it in general fund, is gonna help us offset those deficits. Because at the end of the day, this is what I inherited and I need to fix it. You hired me for that. And I have to fix it. And can't look backwards, I'm only looking forward. And so this is part of the fix. There is no other way to fix it. The loss of enrollment is also another issue. That if you take it, that's another hit. If you look at SHARS, there's a $1.2 million now that they may take away from us. So if we start looking at all of those hits from SHARS, from enrollment, from overestimating the number of kids in our budget, and then we want to give salary increases, something has to give. And so that's why we have to be very careful how we plan our finances in the next year or two. Hopefully the state will release those monies that they have on hold and can help us offset the deficit. But who knows when that's going to happen.
But either bills that were before the last two sessions, if they had been come to fruition, was not going to get us out of this whole entire. Because it didn't take care of the inflationary situation we're facing.
Correct.
It didn't take care of the expenditures we've already had to undertake because we didn't get the monies timely. And it didn't address these salary increases anyway. So even if we got whatever the Senate and the House were proposing in the last two sessions, we'd still be in trouble.
Which projects are we looking at every single one and you're suggesting that we stop? Or are there a few in particular, or?
I have them all on hold right now. All the projects on hold until we discuss this further, and we're gonna talk a little bit about it in closed session with some of those projects. But right now I have everything on hold because this is the only golden opportunity we have to make up some through projects that cannot be done so that we can put it in our general fund so that we can sustain our district financially. And so those are the things that we're gonna have to look into. And right now it's on hold because when I came in 2 months ago and I looked at it, it's concerning.
So we have black boxes, Quinta Mazatlan, IMAS, they're all on hold.
They're all on hold.
And they're listed under student learning. They're listed under student learning.
Yeah. Yes, because of IMAS and Quinta, it's just for their student learning, as well as the black boxes.
So basically, when you say everything's on hold, it's everything that's listed as available?
As monies that were available, yes.
But obviously only the available, not the ongoing?
Ongoing is, we were gonna finish whatever that was started, or that were almost completed. Am I correct on that?
Except for two that I think is going to be discussed in closed session.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Yes.
So I have a question, Ms. Luna. The way that it says current budget, is that 100% ESSER money? Because if you look at the fund code, some of them are like 697, 698. Is that, should it read current ESSER budget and then allocated expenses so far out of that? Or is that, my memory is, and I might be wrong, is that like, let's say the 12 million of the black box, I'm just using as an example, that only like 6 million was ESSER and the other was 6 from general fund. Am I wrong? Because we moved monies around, we freed up monies?
What we did with ESSER 2 is we freed up monies and we reclassed expenses to be able to bring this money to local. This one right here, ESSER 2 local is Fund 194. This budget was committed. The 40 million was committed. Well, we committed 33 because we had already started some spending.
But it is ESSER money.
I mean,
but
technically it's not ESSER money. We spent ESSER money, but we freed up the money.
It is ESSer money. All they did, they changed the coding, but it's from ESSER. But it's the ESSER, it's from the ESSER pot. Think of it like that. It's from the ESSER pot that's what it is, except they changed the coding to, what is it,
194.
194. But that 194 in reality was a 283 or 282, whatever that ESSER money was. 281.
Just to be clear, just so we're looking at least for myself, I'm looking at, they're not numbers, so I can't help me out here, but one of them says ESSER 2 local, and it's showing 17,694 in change is balance, right? And then the next page is ESSER 3, and it's showing 15,302 in change. So we could add those two together as the remaining of ESSER funds, right, is still available.
But just remember that part of that has payroll. And payroll, we need to, so there's part there that's ongoing.
which is approximately 2 million, we would need to, that's where, trustee Saldivar, if we were to combine them, we'd come out to almost $33 million. However, 2 million needs to be kept for payroll to get us through the end of June. And then there's 2 projects that again will be discussed in closed session that could possibly need to stay. So there's about 6 million. So with what Dr. Gutierrez had tasked us with is he wanted 25 to 30 approximately million to be able to be saved and to be put back into 199, and we're about 25 to 26 million, again, depending upon closed session, and then that 2 million that has to stay. And I do want to mention of the ESSER 2, we would have to take this to board and uncommit all of these funds because they were committed to these specific projects. Yes.
Right.
Are you gonna do them item by item or as a whole? We haven't decided.
I think if we do it item by item, just to be transparent and have that discussion. But I'd like for you all to think that, for you all to have this concept that we're in a sense of urgency in a way, and this is the last best chance that we have to put some extra funds into our general fund to help us sustain the district for another year or two until balance things better moving forward. There are 2 projects that we're going to talk about in closed session, and we'll have that heart-to-heart conversation and see what you want us to do. If it is included, if those are included, it will take us close to 30 million, right?
Correct, yes, sir.
To 30, 31. If they're not included and we leave those monies where they're committed, it'll put us like at 25, 26 million. So depends what we want to do.
I just have one quick question. If you could go to the slide that has the ESSER 3 and the other, that one, on safety, because safety is a huge deal for me, and I think there's other trustees here that safety is a top priority for. What is the safety equipment, campus safety equipment that's still available? That's a big amount. It's a second.
The 115,000 that's left there?
Yeah. What is that?
My master plan.
Just kind of in a roundabout way.
The main thing there was we spent 140 million. 140 million. That's the total ESSER. 140,000 for campus PD. We provided monies for the TVs, the monitoring system.
But that's a lot of money still left in there. I mean,
and that's why
safety, we have so many mandates that are unfunded, but we have money there.
Well, that's where the 913,386 in the 22-25 safety standards formula grant, we have approximately 600,000 left there. And as of this morning, I applied for the 3.4 to TEA for the safe cycle 1. There is going to be a cycle 2 that we're watching for as well. So the 3.4 is our allocation. Obviously, we had to go through the formal application process, and I did submit that this morning.
Thank you. That's great to hear. But that number concerns me because we shouldn't have any safety money left.
Correct.
At all.
And all of that, between the 22-25 and then this safe cycle 1, all of that will bring us up to standard with what has come down from TEA, and we have to be in compliance by the end of August of this year.
Thank you.
So.
And one thing for the public to know is that this district was way ahead of the curve, even with safety and security, 63 officers, we'd already done the double doors, et cetera, way before the state got involved after what happened in Valley.
Yes,
so we're way ahead of the curve as
yes,
well.
Sir.
Now, having said that, can you kind of walk us through as to how you are going to move ESSER money to become available in our fund balance after September 1, if you don't spend it in these particular areas? In other words, by holding $30 million, we got to make a switch of fund, right?
We are going to reclass some payroll. in order for that to happen, yes. Now, the Fund 194 ESSER 2 local is already sitting in general. All we have to do is uncommit and move it to our 199 general fund balance. But this ESSER 3-1 will have to reclass some payroll in order for that to happen. And that'll happen pretty quickly as soon as we.
So all the rest of it, we'd be able to reclassify and therefore become unassigned in our general fund balance.
Correct.
Correct. And the way we do it is, the way most districts did it is just use payroll. Instead of paying it from local, pay it out of ESSER.
Exactly.
And that is very doable, and that's allowable. So we have some tough decisions to make because we're in a deficit, and we lost kids, and we have to, and this is the last opportunity we have to build a little bit of the fund balance to keep us afloat.
So how much is it between now and the end of the year, or whenever the contracts are done, I should say, and for everybody else that's not contract, how much of the staffing cost is still available in this year's budget? Did I make my question no? In other words, is the 30 million doable if we transferred all of that to pay?
And it won't be the 30 million because all that we're going to do is reclass and save just this 15 million. Because this is the only amount that, and so yes, we do have the funds we can reclass February's payroll, or February and March's payroll.
And that will take care of it.
Yeah, that'll take care of it.
Thank you.
What are the ramifications for the 300 or 350, 650 overall that we think students that we over-reported? What are the ramifications financially? Are we going to get dinged by DEA for that?
No. It's just that we projected this amount of kids to get this amount of money, but we're gonna get less.
I get it.
It's just an estimate.
Because it's less kids.
Okay.
And so, but our budget was planned at this amount.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, it was planned at an amount of 300 plus more, but now it's 300 less. So
Yeah.
that's a shortage.
Okay.
But we have some opportunities to recover.
Can't wait for that discussion.
Yeah.
Within the items that, aside from what we're talking about, these are projects that have been budgeted and allocated and have been determined for needs for students. In fact, it was mentioned, it's on here, it says student needs, equipment, etc. And let's say you're almost there, you've already expended 2.4 million, you just need maybe another 30, 40,000. Would the project be for significantly completed without spending that additional 30,000? Would we be at a point that we've made significant gains and improvements and be functional and operational for our students to use by not spending the full amount? And I'm talking mainly about the natatorium.
The natatorium is now complete, and the contract amount that we went out for, which the natatorium contract amount listed up there is one, and what was actually on the construction contract is another, because we also had some testing fees and some professional fees, but the construction contract amount was $785, so we stayed under the 1 million as a total. So there will be some money saved, yes.
So the money that's listed there, it's no longer really needed. So it's available, but it's no longer for that project.
Correct.
Would that be true to say about the other projects that are listed as student needs? It's really an outcome of, I know you hold like a 10% holdback for construction. Is that part of that, or?
Some of them do have that part in it, and I'll discuss them in my presentation, which some of those projects were either placed on hold from about 6 to 8 months ago, which are some of the HVAC equipment that was going to be purchased, but it was on hold from the business and ESSER side. So that's still available now, but there's still some monies that are still going to be left over.
I mean, you know, HVAC, I mean, just to be clear, everything's on the table for me as far as concerned. We're suggesting that range. In my mind, we have to do it.
Correct.
But I just want to make sure that on the HVAC we had on the cycle of replacement, replacement cycle, and by not doing so, we're going to feel the effect if it's a significant issue. In other words, can we wait 2 or 3 years to replace that, or are we running the risk that we are going to have a problem this summer?
And in discussing that with Dr. Gutierrez a couple weeks ago, we're at that point to where we're caught up. on the replacement schedule. However, if something was to come up, as long as we have that available to be able to purchase something in case of an emergency. But are we caught up? Yes, we're caught up on some of the chillers. Yes, sir.
Now, having said that, we do have 1 or 2 facilities that if the superintendent's thoughts are followed through, we could move those chillers from where they are today to another location.
If we were to make changes, that is a complete possibility.
And then we're going to be talking in the near future of how we can improve our facilities. And McAllen ISD, we did the defeasance so that we can look at a possible borrowing money without raising taxes. And that's a very good possibility too that we have, because you all did the right thing is to do that defeasance so that it can pay the bonds that we owe and then be able to borrow out of those pennies without raising any taxes, keeping it all the same, so that we can do facility improvements, HVAC improvements, and classroom remodeling, and that kind of thing.
But we have to wait on that, as I understand it, until you build up the funding within that, forgot the term, within that reserve that defeats it.
The INS?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, we have to build it up, we can't.
We won't have it available this year.
No, we're probably going to have to wait for about, perhaps maybe a year and a half or 2. But we can start laying the groundwork by doing a facility study and set our priorities, and work from our priorities. And so we need to do that because once we do that, then we can go out to the community and show them the facilities, priorities that we have, and the amount of money that we can utilize, and so that they can, because it has to be voted on, by the way, it has to go out for election. But the selling point for us is improve our facilities and maintain the same tax rate. And with that, and there's a couple of other things I want to talk to you about finance, because there's a maintenance tax notes that I want to get rid of, because it's eating up our maintenance notes, and we can use that money for other things. But we'll talk about that in a budget meeting or in a facilities finance meeting.
Soon to come. Thank you.
But there's plans, except that it's just going to take us a little time.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this?
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Dr.
I don't know if I interviewed too much, but I need to.
No, we're good.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Board and Dr. Gutierrez, thank you.
You're getting
for
it
the
now, we don't have money, now you're going to have to tell us.
I want to start off, Ruben Trevino, Executive Director for Facilities, Maintenance and Operations here with the district. I'm going to start off with our district mission statement, and this is what we guide ourselves by and go by each and every day that we come into work. Our mission here is to educate all students to become lifelong learners and productive citizens in a global society through a program of educational excellence, utilizing technology and actively involving parents and the community. Our vision statement for McAllen ISD is a multicultural community in which students are enthusiastically and actively engaged in the learning process. Students demonstrate academic excellence in a safe, nurturing, and challenging environment enhanced by technology and the contributions of the total community. And I think this goes back and ties in with all the previous presentations that we've heard earlier this afternoon. At our facilities department, we created our own mission and our own vision, and this ties back into the district's vision and mission statement. The Facilities Maintenance and Operations Department, in collaboration with all of its supervisors and staff, is committed to providing a 21st century learning environment through proper facility improvements and maintenance upkeep, so that our educators may prepare students to be lifelong learners and innovative citizens in an ever-changing world. Our Facilities Maintenance and Operations Department is committing and providing a safe and clean environment conducive for learning, so that optimal opportunities are available for the enrichment of our students. I think the key words here is a safe, clean environment that is conducive for learning. And that is what we strive for each and every day, to be able to see all of our other departments and campuses succeed each and every day at their own campus. Here's our organizational chart. For facilities, as you can see, it goes down from the executive director, we have a construction project manager, one assistant director, and then all the different departments within the facilities maintenance and operations area. This breaks it down a little more. In the office area, we have myself, construction project manager, assistant director, finance and operations specialist, budget and cost specialist, and facility safety specialist. We have our clerical area, we have our dispatcher, which answers to all of our work orders, calls, emergency calls that come in each and every day. We have facilities procurement and operations specialist as well. We have our bookkeeper, and we have 2 secretaries. We're somewhat different from most districts in our facilities maintenance and operations. If you can see, part of our clerical team takes care of all of our utility payments. Every month we reconcile, we go back, we pay all of our electricity, we pay all of our gas, we pay all of our water. Any utilities that have to do with the district, we handle at the maintenance department as well. We have our electrical department, HVAC, auxiliary, which is our general maintenance, our grounds, our plumbing, our in-house construction, custodial, and our warehouse area. Warehouse was added to FM&O, I'm going to say about 3 years ago, and we now oversee warehouse as well. We were overseeing said child nutrition warehouse also, and that got dissected about, I'm going to say 4 or 5 months ago, and we now just kept the original warehouse within our division, or within our area. Child nutrition warehouse went back to CMP.
I'm sorry, real quick, you're not using the stadium in any way, shape, or form for storage at all?
We use it for storage, for general storage, for any activities that go on at the stadium that are needed, that are already housed there. And that's just mainly custodial supplies and, you know, the daily operations.
So that's it,
Nothing major like it was before, no.
No computers?
No. All of that has now been cleaned out.
Thank you.
Facilities we tie into Goal 2 for the district, which is people development, and Strategy 2, which is attract and retain high quality staff. What are the significant drivers of these results? We pride ourselves in having communication between staff and campus and staff at the campus level as well. Our projects, we have priority lists that are created within the department. We make sure that we have our material received when it's needed or prior to when it's needed, and leadership among our teams and our different departments. What corrections are being implemented to improve? Custodial material program to be ordered 2 months before the summer. So once we go into spring break, that spring break mode, that summer mode, we're already in summer mode by spring break. We're already ordering everything that's going to be needed for any projects that are going to take place over the summer. That's why sometimes principals will call in the last week of school before the kids are leaving. Hey, can we get this taken care of? Or we'd like our gym painted, or we'd like our cafeteria redone. Well, by that time, we already have a list that's been created that's got work for the summer. Another thing to note is our facilities maintenance and operations area, we only work 242 days, or our staff. We have a lot of districts that are surrounding us that work a 260-day calendar. Our FM&O staff is only 242 days, so we have to create our schedule around the district calendar, which sometimes makes it challenging, but we get through it.
Because you want to do the work when no one's there. You want to do the work when no one's there.
Correct.
So,
Yeah. The summer project list is created with collaboration amongst the team, and communication is heightened among other departments for any summer events. We have cleanliness, project completion, and facilities are operational and presentable, and that brings us to beginning of the year ready, and that's what we strive for when we get into that, into those spring months. Our goal is 100% of the schools to be fully staffed, clean, safe, and operational by the first day of school. We also tie into Goal 3, which is facility priorities. Strategy 3, engaging learning environments. What are the drivers of these results? Again, communication, project and priority lists, and director approval. The process for our work orders. Work orders are being properly sorted between projects and our daily maintenance. There are two types. There are some types that require a little bit longer length of time, and there are some work orders that can be completed within 1 to 2 days. All work orders are now being reviewed by the assistant director and myself, and work orders that go past the 6 months will be closed due to inactivity after they're reviewed as to why. The process is a work order comes into the department, the dispatcher makes any corrections that may need to be, such as something's not clearly stated, calls back to the campus, and gets a correct description of what is being asked for. About 8 years ago when I came in, we implemented a new work order system, which is TeamWorks. In this particular work order system, there's two people at every campus that can submit a work order. And the reason for that is because if there's any questions, we know who to go ask. You know, we're not on a wild chase. Before, it was a case system to where anyone or any employee of the district would be able to submit a work order, and it was a never-ending story. So now we kind of control that by having those dedicated people at the campuses, which is usually the front office personnel. We also have the assistant director review work orders and classify them so they can be properly assigned to the correct department or supervisor. And if approved, the work order is assigned and scheduled by the appropriate supervisor. And that our goal is to do all of that within 48 hours for each work order that is submitted. Any questions on any of the processes before I go into any of the projects? We have one ongoing project that we see here. This is our stadium press box, Veterans Memorial Stadium press box. This particular project was funded partly by the city and the district tied in together. MISD contributed $3 million, and City of McAllen contributed $1 million to the total cost of this project, which is $4,099. Right now, as of last week, I believe, Dr. Gutierrez and I got together. I did contact the general contractor, Econ. They gave it to me in writing, where they say that by February we should be substantially complete, so that we can go ahead and do one of the first tours and get up in the press box area.
Ruben, has the elevator been installed already?
The elevator is installed already, and it's in process of getting certified. Once it's fully certified, then they'll allow us to use it to go.
Is it able to stop on the second floor?
Yes, sir.
So
That was one thing. That was one thing that I wanted to make sure that we took advantage of with the mezzanine in the stadium. That before it was used to be for storage. Now we created an encased opening, so we have a first stop, which is a mezzanine level. Now we'll be able to have a mezzanine level be ADA accessible. For the future, the district wants to turn that mezzanine level into any workable space. That's going to give us extra space that is now ADA accessible, when before it wasn't. This space is approximately, I want to guess, between 3,000 and 4,000 square feet that we can go in there and use for future.
Thank you.
We have the UTRGV McAllen ISD Collegiate Academy. This project right now is slated to be completed for the summer. The contractor is way ahead of schedule. The only thing holding us back right now is we're waiting for the transformers from AEP. As of this morning, it's any day now, but they cannot guarantee us a date. So with this weather situation throughout the state, I don't know if they're going to be delayed another week, another 2 weeks, but work still continues. And right now, so long as those transformers are delivered within the next week to 2 weeks, we're slated to complete the project by late March, early April. So they're way ahead of schedule.
Ruben, is that facility being wired already for Wi-Fi and all that capability, having its own?
They started running not Wi-Fi. They started running the fiber to the actual location. I want to say last week. We meet together with our different departments depending on what is needed. It's already wired, pre-wired to all the classrooms from every IDF, MDF building, and we're now looking into the equipment that's going to be going in there. The racks are not in place yet because the flooring needs to go in. We've got to climatize the building with the chillers, so therefore, until we can climatize the building, we can't install any of the flooring. So those are some of the things that you see that are happening.
But getting into the ability for not just Wi-Fi, but for that campus to self-run its information technology. Is there going to be servers in there installed?
Yes, sir. Everything that is going to be installed there is going to be our equipment and solely McAllen ISD equipment.
So that's not part of the contract?
That is going to be on our end, and that was from the discussions from the beginning. Unless our technology department gives full access to UTRGV on some of the equipment, well, then they can use theirs as well.
Well, how can we deny them
But
full
it's a dual.
access, you know?
Well, I mean, they have their own equipment components as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
This picture that you see on the top left, that is the 120-seat lecture hall or / auditorium that it has on the second floor. And then down at the bottom, you see the arches that resemble UTRGV buildings. And then the rest of it is look from the southeast side, I want to say.
Ruben, before you go on to the Travis project, going back to the press box, you know where it says McAllen, the lettering that's already up there. It's
Okay.
beautiful during the day. You can't see it at night. Is there any intent to light those up or anything like that?
We can certainly look into those options.
I'm just asking because-
they blend in with,
Yeah, during the day you can see them and they look great. It really adds a nice touch to them. But at night or in the evenings, even when we're, have games or whatever, nobody see that. So I was just curious, just something to think about.
that's true.
Our next project here is the Travis Middle School roof project. Our Travis Middle School roof project is probably right now, I'd say around 70% complete. And it's slated to be completed by late April, early May, and it's on schedule right now. The total cost on this project is a little over 1.9 million. Our natatorium project, which I talked earlier, this particular project is getting punched out. It's already substantially complete, and they'll be working on the punch list, and it'll be going for final payment to the board in the month of February.
Any issues or concerns with
No, sir.
remodels of that national?
Matter of fact, that contractor did very, very good work. Was able to work in the months that nobody else wanted to, and we took a gamble so that our kids could be able to use the pool when it was really going to be needed. We concentrated on doing the plaster first and left the equipment for the last, so that we would be able to run some of the old equipment with the water in the pool already, and the kids would be able to use both pools. When the equipment came in, they worked on it over the holidays and previously during the Thanksgiving break as well, and they were able to complete all of it.
Okay, thank you.
The MISD kitchen renovation projects, the last 4, those are slated to be completed by February as well, and those will be going to the board for final payment also.
Those are at different campuses
Yes, these last 4, we're looking at Wilson, Garza, Roosevelt, and Rayburn.
because we're doing away with the central kitchen, right? Is that what it was?
I want to say that was a plan that was looking forward to be able to have kitchens that were going to be fully functional and sustainable, and that was a goal of the child nutrition program. Now that these are the last 4 for now, I don't know what their next plans are going to be.
But at this time, not all the campuses have their kitchens be self-containing, right? I mean, they're
Not all of them yet.
Right, so there are going to be schools that we still need to provide food
Correct.
service
We've
from
got,
second kitchen.
for example, Seguin, Milam, some of those campuses, those were on the,
Where they got
they were the next group that
So
was
if
going
I
to come in.
recall, the point was to have the kitchens, to stop having to
Correct.
have food
Yeah.
sent over in the refrigerated or heated truck or whatever
Yeah.
to the different schools. So
Correct.
that may or may not be the case, so, but yeah, just,
They're looking real pretty.
I'm sure they
Very
do.
nice. I went to see that Rayburn. It's beautiful.
I love that.
Perhaps we need to take
A tour.
a tour once they're all completed.
Mhm.
Take a tour so that we can see it, how nicely redesigned.
Mhm. That's
I
great.
know trustee Rivera and trustee Regalado they went ahead and went on a tour already. We toured Gonzalez and Rayburn when it was just starting.
Yeah.
You'll see a big difference in Rayburn, because
Finished.
Rayburn is almost like 95% complete.
I love that.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, the ones we toured, when they were gutted down to the studs, where they are today, it's impressive.
Yeah, very nice.
I love the idea that those campuses, or most of the campuses, will have their own kitchen because the food is extremely fresh, it's there. And in any emergency, they have that ability, so I love that.
Los Garza, Roosevelt, what was the fourth one?
Rayburn. Going back to trustee Saldivar's question earlier, while Ms. Williams was presenting, on the equipment that we have currently in place at our schools, at our campuses. Over the last 8 years, we've replaced a little over 40-something chillers district-wide already. That takes us way up on the replacement schedule. As far as fire alarms, Kathy is, I believe, our number 16th fire alarm over the course of 8 years. Once we finish Kathy, that's going to put us up to 2025 in our next fire alarm replacement within the district. And that'll start off with the newer, what we still call the newer campuses. But that'll be the replacement for that. And then on the roofs, we've pretty much done a little, I think 10 or 11 roofs and partial roofs as well. And that puts us on par with the 25 to 30-year warranties on the majority of our roofs. So a lot of
buys us time.
So a lot of that equipment does buy us time. There's a lot of air handler equipment that is not necessarily on a replacement schedule, as critical as the exterior chiller components that have been replaced as well. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you.
Good job, Rudy.
Thank you.
All right, everybody start on page 49.
It's going to be slide 49, 48, 49. Yeah, 48, sorry. But I'm going to be skipping over, for the sake of time, I'm going to be trying to skip over some of the slides. If that's okay with you all.
Yes, please.
Okay. This slide, of course, just shows you as property values of student increases, state funding decreases. So we have a balancing act. Oh, yes, sorry. I'm just going to go real quick through it. Wanted to show you on this slide, where does the money come from? We have 9.13% of federal, 47.78% of state, and 43.09% is local. This is our tax rate history for the past 25 years. We're at the lowest tax rate this 23-24 year at 1.0011. It could be further than 25 years. We just had the data of up to 25 years. So we're still waiting on our this 2023 state legislative year, where we don't know yet. They're going into special sessions of how much money we're getting. You know, our basic allotment is still $6,160 per student. We don't include any inflation factor, where we're all feeling it right now in the budget. We have big time inflation. And of course, the state funding is influenced by enrollment, average daily attendance, special population, the enrichment pennies, and property wealth. I'll just go through. This is tier 1 calculation. These are our different areas of allotments that we get. Of course, our biggest one is our regular program at regular program, which is our 6,160 basic allotment. We have Comp Ed, which is deal with census blocks. We have career technology, early education, bilingual education, transportation, CCMR, college career, military ready, and gifted and talented, dyslexia, so forth, so on.
This is our budget, our general fund expenditures budget that we just passed this 23-24 year. And in this budget, you can see that our payroll is our biggest. This one is at 76.29%, but that's not what our payroll usually is. It's around 81. The reason why this shows it the 76 is because we're reclassing monies from our general fund into that ESSER 2 in order to utilize our general fund, to free up our general fund. So really our payroll is at 81%.
Is that because when we did our budget, we allocated, like, let's say we're gonna hire 3,000 employees, we only hired 2,000 employees, but you still allocated the budget, like, how are you able to move money that was designated?
This was, we set up monies that we were going to reclass, so we freed up some monies in the general fund. And so then we're reclassing our payroll from our general fund into our ESSER funds. That way we spend it through our ESSER, freeing up our general fund. So when you see the budget here, you only see 76% of our budget is 76% because we took that money out of the general fund to put it to the ESSER. I don't know if that answered your question. And so then we have our professional contracted services at 4.87%, our supplies and materials at 7.25%, our capital outlay at 7.53%, and debt service there is 1.68. That debt service is really not our bonded debt, it's our maintenance tax notes.
Which one?
The maintenance, the debt service of 1.68%. And how is the money spent? Well, the majority of the money spent is in instructional services at 52.54%. But our facilities is next at 12.97%. But in this 12.97%, I've included our Function 81 construction, which we have a lot right now in our Fund 194. So that's why your facilities amount is, the percentage is kind of high, almost 13%. But technically, sometimes it's lowered, but just because of our local ESSER account, Fund 194, that's what caused it to be a little bit higher.
Ms. Luna, we really like this. Did you make this?
I got it.
I just commented on that. I love that.
There was some sharing in our Hasbro Connect. We have a Connect that we do with all the state districts in the state of Texas. And one of the PowerPoints that they had was this. So based on theirs, we made this one.
It explains it really.
Yeah,
Where the money goes.
Yeah, where the money goes.
That's real clear, like for the people, like the community, to look at it that way instead of graphs and all kinds of other tables. This really just kind of spells it out. I like it.
So with the help with our Community Information Department and Business Services, we're able to come up with that background and come up with the percentages based on our budget.
I love it.
So nutrition at 7.61%, our campus leadership at 5.08%, counseling at 4.69%, extracurricular at 3.79%, district leadership at 3.1%, technology at 2.16%, safety at 1.82%, debt 1.68%, transportation 1.59%, instructional support 1.38%, and health at 1.113%.
When you,
I'm sorry.
when you look at district leadership, 3.1%, is that all leadership, campus principals, director?
No, the campus leadership, there's another one above that at 5.08. That's our principals,
Oh, I see
our
that.
campus leadership. Our district leadership basically is our Function 21, which is our directors and their staff.
So directors and above. And what do you call it, we have them labeled as FE and AF and AE.
Oh, AE and AM. So we have administrative education and administrative management.
Got it.
Ms. Linda, when we get further into the budget cycle, will you be able to tell us, like nutrition, 7.61%? Will there be information that compares that to other districts in the same size with the same population around the state of Texas, around region, so that we know, like, oh gosh, we're spending way too much on this or not enough on this, or?
When we're supposed to publish our budget by function, so every district does. When they do their budgeting depends on their school year, so I'm not sure when they will have that information, and usually we're not going to have our information until we've published in June, right? So I'm suspecting all the other districts won't have their information out and available until June, if they're a June
year end. But then there's a lot that are September 1st.
But we could do it like on past years, we could say like, I just think it'd be
I
interesting.
can certainly look into it, yes.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting during budget season to see like, how many, what's the percentage that they use.
Of course, yes.
Thank you so much.
I think another thing to look at is, or I was told, apparently per the Region 1 budget book that goes by districts and compares the different categories, it showed that McAllen ISD was very heavy in central office. And when I had spoken previously to Dr. Doyles about that, when it looked like we were very light, she says it's because of how some of our campus leadership, or I guess facilitators and all that, were categorized. And so maybe we can look at that, so that way when that recategorize some of the positions so that they're not classified as central office, and then it doesn't show to the public, well, look, you're so top heavy versus really showing that those are campus.
Yes, we can certainly look into looking into that, and I'll work with HR with that.
Yeah, because here, I mean, I love this campus leadership versus district leadership, but then some of these other ones might be facilitators.
Correct.
Yeah.
I can work with HR, and we can come up with that.
Ms. Luna, before we move on, we were just talking, a good reference of comparing this to others was what TASB did for HR. They already had listed the schools that were comparable to us locally and a couple from out of the region. So that could be a good one, since we're already using them on the HR side, to use them on the finance side.
Okay. And that report is coming up next month?
Yes.
More like March? Where the staff study will be done, and it's in comparison, you're right, Mr. Saliba, with other districts similar to our size, and then we can.
That'll work, HR and everything we're looking at.
We look at budget, yeah.
Thank you.
Just to show you this graph about the impact of inflation, it's up by 19.9%. Again, I was telling you on inflation, it does affect us and our costs and affecting everybody's budgets that they have, and that usually having to utilize their budgets more, especially in our facilities maintenance and operations office. Here, these are state allotments with our special education, and this is as of fiscal year 2023, so I can get actual cost. Here we had an allotment of $20.5 million with actual cost at $19.3 million. We didn't get but $1 million worth of indirect cost. Usually with indirect cost, we get about 45, what is it, 45, 55? How much do you get for state comp? 55% or 45?
55%.
So they get 55%, we get an indirect cost at 45%. So, but with special ed, we don't. We base it based on what they end up with at the end of the year. And at the end of the year was $1 million. But there's a lot of expenses in special ed, and it's going up, and of course, we're getting more students, and we're not getting the funding. So it's going to get to the point where we're not going to get any revenues from this. So, school safety, of course, you all know, the allotment was $177,000, but actual cost was $5.3 million. And transportation, you're looking at an allotment of $1 million that we get from the state, but the actual cost is $4.7 million. This is our general fund balance for as of June 30th, 2023. For our unassigned fund balance, this is what we use for our 2.5 months that we have to keep. We're looking at $58,223,760. That amount, of course, has our 2.5 months that we have to fund. We also have to keep monies there for the estimated costs when we do drawdowns for our federal programs. We always front the costs up front, we pay for it, and we get funded later. So we have to keep enough fund balance for that. This is showing that we were excess unassigned fund balance of only $274,000. So basically, all this unassigned fund balance is needed for our federal programs that we're having to flip the cost ahead of time, and of course to have our 2.5 months. Our assigned fund balances in blue of $20 million. That is where we go in and we allot so much, and this is what we're going to spend on. So at the end of the year, we say, okay, well, we need this, this, this. Sometimes we have our replacement schedules that we have to have. That's in our assigned fund balances. Sometimes we have monies for bus transportation or maintenance vehicles that we have to set aside. That's also in our assigned fund balance information of $20 million.
Then we have our committed fund balance of 21.8. That's the 194 local that we have left over. That's what we committed. That's what we ended up at the end of the last year, fiscal year. Our restricted fund balance in orange, that's the 30.8 million. That is restricted for our special POPs and our federal programs. So that's their fund balances. And of course in purple, which is the small 3.8 million, is our non-spendable fund balances like our inventories. Do you have any questions on the fund balance? So this is just a reminder, I know you all have seen this in the last presentation we had to the board. It's a reminder that we are at a $6 million deficit. As of right now, we use some of that excess VATRE funding of $239,000 to help us bring it down from the 6.2 to the 5 million. Originally, we had budgeted net loss of 4.2, almost 4.3 million, and then that 1% compensation increase that we hadn't accounted for in our budget was an extra almost 2 million, giving us the $6.2 million loss. This was the cliffs, the ESSER cliffs that we were talking about earlier from TEA. In order to help our fund balances, this is what we need to do, is to try to reclass these monies from ESSERs and bring up our fund balance. And the last thing I wanted to talk to you, because we're getting so close into our budget process, is our budget key dates. We have a first budget workshop on February the 12th, and where we're going to start talking about our 23-24 budget and staffing updates. This is a living document. This can change. So this is not set in stone. We can always add, take away, or assign other items in those budget workshops. We have our second budget workshop on March 18th with budget, human resource, and benefit updates. On April 8th, we have our third budget workshop on enrollment landscape. On May 13th is our fourth budget workshop, budget and human resources update. May 28th, we have our fifth budget workshop. And then on June 10th, we have to approve our budget, the 24-25 budget. So that's just the key dates to remember for our budget timing. And that's all I have.
Thank
Y'all
you.
have any questions for me? Thank
Don't
you.
be planning during the budget workshops.
Yes, I know. Yeah, but it's coming up.
Okay.
34 seconds
And the rest of the departments that didn't get to present, we'll schedule another meeting like this, but what did y'all think? Okay, so that's what we will do, and then pick up the rest, because I know HR has some items, bilingual, niche, federal, oh my God, she's got a lot of money, she hasn't even talked to us. We can't forget her either, okay, state and federal funds. So we will cover all of that at our next one, so that way we can get a better handle of everything that's going on. And it's helpful because when we start the budget process, we can start thinking about everything that we talked about today. And then the few that are left, then we can also schedule them on another workshop, okay? Are you good with another workshop here so that we can finish the rest? Okay. It may not take us all the 4 hours now because we don't have that many left, but we'll maybe do a 2 hours or so. Whatever it takes.
Now, the slides that were being developed that are there, even the ones we didn't cover, is that pretty much all inclusive? It's pretty much where the district is in current state?
It's, for the most part, yes. We didn't include many other things that we could have, but we just covered what was most informative from most of the areas. Because we could have added a lot more, but this is what is like, what we need to know.
Gotcha. So therefore, for what I believe, I think we ought to do is attach this to the agenda today. And so that's why I'm asking that question. Unless you see something otherwise, I think we ought to attach it to the agenda so it's made available to the community.
I see that if you do that, you need to redact some things because there are some hyperlinks in there to direct the SharePoint for some proprietary. That's essentially our playbook, and you wouldn't want our playbook to get into other people's hands. So if you do, I suggest you redact some.
For now, we can do this because this is informative enough.
Yeah.
I mean, what it's got.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you said to attach all these handouts into the.
This
agenda?
packet, attach it to the agenda. Because therefore, it's now made available pretty much to the public as soon as they go in and look at the agenda.
I'll just ask those that presented if there's anything, but I think it should be public information. I think it should be.
All of it is public information anyway.
Yeah,
Right now,
even the
they could be
hyperlinks.
writing for this, even the hyperlinks are
Even
public.
even because they can get them.
The playbooks are all public information.
Yeah.
All of
We
them.
talked about it, didn't we?
I would just get with our legal counsel
We'll
before
check
you
on
send
that.
it out,
Yeah.
just to make sure there's not any information that issue with that.
Because I was about to do a motion, but I'll defer to legal counsel. But I don't see any reason why it can't.
I think before we go, let's just dot our i's and cross our t's.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, and we can do that.
If we can know before we leave, it'd be ideal.
Yeah, okay. The other thing before we leave, just so everyone, I was coming in and out because I'm trying not to cancel classes because the kids need us. They need warm places, they need a warm meal. So what I'm doing is, and they're working on it right now, I'm delaying the start of the day a couple of more, like from 9 o'clock elementary to come in at 9:30. Middle school was supposed to come in at 9:30, we're gonna delay to 10 o'clock, and then high school's to 10:30. So I just want to delay it a little more. It's gonna be very cold, the early morning hours, but by around mid-morning, it should warm up a little better, around the mid to high 30s.
How does that
But I
look
just don't
for
want
you?
to close because our kids need our warm places and they need a warm meal.
Can we allow staff to come in later too, because they're driving on those same roads and they're just as cold? I know staff was gonna come in at 8 o'clock, but it now.
I have stuff at 8 o'clock. I was thinking of delaying it, but we're gonna have parents that are gonna drop off the kids
No matter what you say.
early, and so we gotta be there. And so, but I'm gonna leave it up to the principals and supervisors to kind of like split time. Maybe we can tell them,
Yeah,
Dr.
the
Doyos,
discretion of the campus.
to split time and they can work themselves where some can show up early and then leave earlier or something like that.
Or take into account those individuals, and they know who they are. They don't live in
The
same
campus is
town.
already taking care of it, yeah.
Some may live in Welsico, Edinburgh.
But I'm just delaying it now. The start for elementary would be at 9:30. Middle school would start at 10 and high school would start at 10:30. Because canceling classes is an easy thing to do, but
I
kids
also
are better off
think
with
it,
us.
there's parents that have to go to work, and
Yeah.
it's a really hard thing to do to find childcare and
Yeah.
things like that last minute.
Yeah.
So I think,
So we're gonna keep these new times for tomorrow and Wednesday. So that way we don't have to redo it, something else for Wednesday. But it pushes everything down, to a later morning, starting at 9:30, 10, 10:30, okay?
You're gonna get this out to the meeting?
Yes, they're working on it right now. Okay, just wanted to touch base on that.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, before we go to closed session, I think that's it, you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Good job, folks. Well, now you get an idea about
Karen, now you know you need to get your close set up.
Now you're gonna know.
I already know.
Okay, so we're at item, agenda number 4, which reset the closed session. The Board of Trustees may go into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071 and 551.072 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following: pending and/or potential litigation and possible real estate acquisition. At 4:59 PM, we will go into executive session.
The Cowboys
didn't.
because if we showed up for them, cheered, waited in the cold. What more they want?
Ready? Yes. Okay. It is 7:04 PM and we are reconvening in open session.
Madam President, I'd like to move that the presentation to the board on new board member orientation, PowerPoints that were prepared by the superintendent administration, that they be attached to today's agenda. With the caveat, it can be redacted for any information that may be confidential.
Second.
It's been moved by trustee Salazar and second by trustee Regalado that the information for today's workshop be attached to the agenda subject to redacts based on the review of legal counsel. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, John.
Could I have a time frame for when y'all want that done? Could I have 72 hours to review the documents to make sure there's nothing? I just want to make sure.
A friendly amendment to that, based on council, is to allow up to review up to 72 hours.
Thank you.
And trustee Regalado, you second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We are now at item 6, adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
So moved by trustee Peña and seconded by trustee Salazar that we adjourn our 1 PM meeting at 7:05 PM. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We are adjourned at 7:05 PM.
7:05.
Probably that